All right, hello. Welcome back to the third and final day of the Bilgewater Brawl cast. Today is just going to be the Fearless Best of Three finals between Milky Way and the Midwives. We've seen these teams play each other twice before, one win going to each team. Just to recap how Fearless Draft works, if a champion is picked or banned in one game in the series, it can no longer be selected in draft for the rest of the series. That does include picks and bans, so attempting to ban a champion that is disabled would just result in a none ban. Thankfully, the tool we use just completely disables it, so we're able to avoid stuff like that. But anyway, this should be a pretty interesting matchup, and as the casters were discussing yesterday, a lot of people on these teams do typically tend to have smaller champion pools, so we'll get to see some new picks from a lot of players, which I think should end up being pretty interesting. But yeah, okay. Thanks, Mason. I'm probably going to get copy striked now. Okay, Mason, you can take over. I gotta do some stuff to get this prepped. If you're here. Okay, anyway, Midwives do have side select. I believe they selected blue side for the first game. Should be
Yeah, this is
a
gonna be a
good
pretty
choice.
exciting matchup.
All right, all you. Oh, I'm muted on Discord. Oopsies. Okay, well, I was going on the stream. All you guys, take it from here.
So we are going to be watching or casting Fearless BO3 of Milky Way versus Midwives. I
Yes.
believe, yes. Alright, should be pretty hype.
Fearless Draft is gonna be super exciting. First time in the server.
Yeah. Yeah, some would say it would be the first time, surely. Joke to you. But should be pretty exciting to see whether or not sorry, one sec. What was it? There's some interesting points that I want to talk about. There's like champions like Alana's Sejuani that we saw getting picked a lot. I wonder where the priority will be on that. Whether or not they plan on banning it out and or just pushing her on to other champions. I want to see what other champions get explored here. Champions like Stanley Syndra, I think, from yesterday that were super impactful. I'm curious to see what the breakdown is going to be of that. Champions like Avery's Riven and a bunch of other things that are there's just like a lot of champions that I'm curious to see the fate of, how deep into the rabbit hole we'll go. So
Do you think we'll see kind of a traditional draft strategy where maybe they'd be banning like they would at least in the first game, like a normal game? Or do you think maybe the strategy with this new draft is to come out and just quickly ban out just a big part of someone's champion pool?
I am curious. I think in Fearless Draft it tends to be, or in Fearless Draft the game one tends to be like super standard. Like I imagine we'll see all of like Midwives and Milky Ways like normal picks after they get pushed, and then game two is generally where like they tend to start reaching a little deeper for their champion pools. A lot of more weirder niche counter picks come out, and I think Blake as a player has had like a lot of good weird niche counter picks. So I'm curious to see what champions he'll try to fall to. So
Yeah, I think Blake and Avery both have pretty deep champion pools, so I feel like top is gonna be one of those lanes that might not be as affected. I think
yeah,
mid lane's definitely one that can definitely be targeted because I think both Joel and Stanley don't have like a huge amount of variety, and they even overlap some. So a ban against one or
yeah.
a pick on one's kind of against both of them.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see champions that they both share. I think both of them have played the Lux historically as well, so I'm curious to see where Lux Prowl will fall in the series. Champions like what else is there? People like Mythic who have historically only played like 3 or 4 champions. I'm curious to see what champions will fall to the wayside after, or what champions will be locked in after like game two or game one. So it should be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, because I really think it's not too difficult to like pinch down the best engaged supports, especially if you're like saying two of them got picked in the first game, then you add in some bans. Like by game two
Yeah,
draft, there could be very little available in that kind of
Yeah,
style.
yeah. I'm very curious to see what we get into. Some champions to watch for the both teams. Games Echo still undefeated, by the way, in 6 games. Kind of hog. Last game was not the cleanest showing of like Echo as a champion. However, I think he showed a lot of mastery on the character in the later stages of the game. Still able to find like really unique assassination angles that only Echo has access to. So I am curious to see what sort of priority will be placed on that. So
I assume it's just gonna get banned, but you never know. I mean, I would probably
yeah,
just say ban it once in the first game, and then boom, you don't have to worry about it again for the rest of the draft.
yeah, that could be a strategy. I'm curious to see what happens. Um, yeah, looks like the key matchup is still Hong versus Dean. As we saw in the last time, the conversation of like utility ADC versus like a hyper carry ADC did sort of come up in the last game. Hong had like a really strong Ophelia showing. Was able to like clutch up in like the later portions of the game and had like a lot of super aggressive flash ulti Aphelios plays, which was really funny, but did end up clutching out the game for his team as well. Had a lot of damage. Whereas Dean was playing more of like the lethality Jin setup. You play more for like these long range Ws and like ultis with like the axiom mark to get like perma ult timers. So I'm curious. This
Performance
matchup should be
with
pretty fun to
lethality Jhin. I
watch.
wouldn't mind seeing that again because I think you can probably replicate the success that your solo lanes had with Blake and Stanley.
Yeah,
But I
as long
think
as
that utility pick's just perfect there.
yeah, and as long as Blake doesn't randomly int like 20 times, like you should probably win the game. But that's a different conversation. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this matchup. This matchup has been pretty fun to watch so far in like the last couple games that they played versus each other. So
Yes, they've already been 1-1 in this tournament so far.
yeah.
So this is gonna be the third game we've seen them go up against each other.
All right. So is this the draft? This is the draft. All right. So if we want to talk about bans from Milky Way and Midwives, I think these are all like relatively standard bans. I do like them banning out the Sejuani for the first time
Yeah.
versus Lana, just to like test the waters and see what champions she'll go to next. The Senna is a pretty standard ban versus Dean and Mythic. It is just a really strong champion. And the Syndra also being removed from Stanley as well. We did harp on how his Syndra was just so fucking good, and I'm glad to see they're willing to remove it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, first pick Vayne's pretty wild. I mean, I think so.
Yeah, I think this is like a bit of an ego pick from Hong. Definitely a champion that has like a really weak laning phase in the Vayne, but he has been really good on the Vayne. I think his Vayne is historically like a little more flippy in scrims, but I think when he is sitting up right in his chair and sweating, I think his Vayne is always something to be wary of. I do want to talk about Milky Way's bans a little bit. The Kane ban for uh Can Cam, I guess, is interesting because I don't think Cam has historically been a Kane player, but I think just arguably limiting the ability to play blue Kane is pretty good. And then Xerath and Lulu, I think Kathy is like a really good Lulu player, so this makes a lot of sense. And the Xerath for Joel is pretty standard.
Yeah. A little surprised that they went for like the Kane over the Echo. We see
Yeah.
that it did eventually get banned in that second phase, but I'm just surprised we didn't see Echo come through in the first round of picks. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Cam would have just first picked that, instead of the
Yeah.
Vayne, but clearly didn't really want to play it this time.
Yeah. And Milky Way responded to the Vayne lane with Nautilus Draven. I'm pretty sure Draven historically just dumpsters all over the Vayne. You just beat her at like early stages
Yeah.
of the game. And
Yeah,
then
it's
you
a
just
different
have
Nautilus.
yeah, Mythic on the Nautilus is super spooky. He does manage to get one of those 3 champions we really talked about, where support is really, or 3 of his like most common engaged supports, and it has like a really good pairing with the Draven. So I do like this pick a lot from them into the Vayne.
Yeah, I think this is a really good draft. We're going to see Avery actually piloting the Garen when I'm pretty sure we saw Blake play the Garen into
Yeah,
Avery, I believe. So now we're kind of seeing Avery on
the
the
flip
Garen, so
side of
that's
the
kind of
matchup.
exciting to me.
Yeah, and then I think Kathy picking the Raka and the Ziggs, this is like just all standard comfort for midwives. And I do like I am surprised to see Alana on the Lilia. This is a champion that requires a little more execution than something like the Sejuani. You have to hit like good sleeps, try to find good ulti angles for the Lilia. So I'm curious to see how this champion gets piloted.
Yeah.
Not like the hardest jungler, but still like a decent skill range to you need to access, and I'm curious to see how it goes for her. I think she has played a lot of Lilia before, so
Yeah,
I'll
I've
have to see if
definitely
it
seen
shows up.
her on that pick. I thought she was playing the Sejuani really well, especially like in the fight. She kept finding really
Yeah,
good ultimates. So I'm actually excited to see how she can do with also having the increased clear speed and see what
yeah,
kind of value she can get out of that.
yeah. And then for our two bans, we have Echo, as you talked about earlier. This is a super strong jungler, and I think it actually does pretty well into the Lilia if you manage to get like a lot of AP. You can just fucking one combo her and then remove her from the game. Aphelios is an interesting ban. I think they might have thought it would be a Vayne top. I don't know if I've ever seen a replay Vayne top, but I guess removing the flex potential is like
Yeah,
okay, I suppose. And
I'm
then
sure they're just scared of how hard Hong's Felios
all
popped
right,
off yesterday.
I'm being told by Mr. Dean Jones it is 4 fearless. They didn't need another ban in this R5, so I guess they wanted to start pinching out Hong's champion pool, which is an interesting strategy that
Yeah,
is
yeah, that's
only
cool.
utilizable in fearless. So I do kind of like that, honestly.
Yeah, it's cool. I like to see that.
Yeah. And it looks like there's a Lux blind or Lux into Ziggs. I think this is like a neutral lane. Like you just sit there and wave clear versus each other and pretend like you don't exist.
It's super boring, but I don't hate it either way. I mean, Joel's obviously going to pick Ziggs. I think that's his best champion, even over the Xerath
Yeah.
personally. And then Stanley's like, that's another thing where he's denying Joel, probably Joel's third best champion then as well,
Yeah.
because now you've played that, so now Joel can't do Xerath, Lux, or Ziggs for whatever games follow. So I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Super good to point out. Denying the Garen, as you said, is pretty good. Also, Garen's like not a hard champion by any stretch. So
I think
I
Avery
think
would be
Avery could
good.
probably pull it off. And we do get to see the return of Cam Sakarum. I have my doubts because I think this champion is actually like unironically a little weak right now compared to other junglers, but uh historically he has been one of our better Hecarim pilots in the server, so I'm curious to see how that goes. And then Blake counterpicks the Garen with the Camille. I think this is a winning matchup for Camille. I have no idea how Camille matchups work, so
Yeah, I would assume it is, but I don't know. We'll have to kind of wait and see on that. Might be
yeah.
something which kind of scales into being better. I'm not entirely
Yeah.
sure.
In terms of draft, I think Milky Way has like a really strong early game draft. With like the Draven Nautilus, Lilia once she hits 6 has like a lot of impact in team fights. So it is like a little bit of a early-ish mid-game kind of comp where you're trying to snowball off like level 6 power spikes, whereas Midwives is trying to play a little more. Or I think they've really just drafted more like all comfort kind of
Yeah,
draft.
not really sure what they're trying to do with their draft, honestly, here. I don't hate it, but I definitely think Milky Way's got the preferred draft, and,
Yeah,
there's not really much CC on the side of Midwives, so if
yeah.
Dean's able to get big on the Draven, it could be really hard to shut him down.
Yeah, it's sort of like to me, Midwives is sort of just pray the Hecarim can pop off and enable your other lanes, which isn't a bad strategy because I think Hecarim is one of those like unique champions where he can sort of enable all kind of lanes and like have a lot of impact just because of how fast the champion is. So it's not the worst strategy, but it is like a little less cohesive than the side of Milky Way. So
Yeah, we've already seen Cam at least once this tournament pull out the Hecarim and carry pretty hard, so
yeah.
definitely think he can do it again.
Oh my gosh, Avery is 0-4 on the Garen. That's really fucking funny. Maybe this champion is harder than I give it credit for. Uh, but Lalana is also 1-5 on the Lilia. I think this is mostly on Lilia top. I think Lilia top is a little weaker than like Lilia jungle. You just have less access to team play potential with like the ulti. So I'm not too surprised. Dean is 0-1 on the Draven. I think this is one of those games where he was not sober, TM, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's I'm a little surprised he went for the Draven then. Definitely think
Yeah,
it's a good pick here, but
yeah,
we've seen him have really good games on stuff
Wait,
like
Hong is 12 and 4 on the Vayne. That's crazy. I don't know. Every time I play versus Hong's Vayne, it either like goes like 0 and 17, and he has like a couple outplays in game, but he always sprints it in the laning phase. So I don't know. I was apparently a knower of the Vayne tech. Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes.
And then yeah, Mythic 19 and 4. I mean,
yeah,
he wins when he gets Nautilus. I mean, it's
yeah,
kind of how it goes.
Yeah, this champ is really good, so I'm glad to see him on his comfort pick here on the Nautilus. So, but yeah, and into player matchups here, I think not a whole lot has changed from last time we saw it yesterday. It is a little more even. Cam has one win into Alana finally in the jungle. Blake is still gapping Avery most of the time, and Stanley still has the edge in this matchup over Joel. And Hong still has the edge in this matchup over Dean, and I think Kathy and Mythic are pretty even. So
definitely, I agree. Should be good champion matchups. Nautilus has definitely been getting the better of Soraka, and then also Lux getting the better of Ziggs. So
yeah, I think it might just be Ziggs is a little harder to execute than Lux. I'd like to say, like you can just as Lux you can sit there from range, throw bindings, and throw ult, and then do your whole combo and do a lot of damage. The Draven matchup into Vayne is looking a little gross there, but I wonder what game that is from actually. And apparently we've never played the Hecarim Lilia matchup. From my experience on this particular matchup, having played it a decent amount, I think it is actually Hecarim favored. However, if Lilia goes like a little more bruisery, it's harder for Hecarim to play the game. It's a bit of a skill matchup. But typically Hecarim has easier time of impacting the map, so it favors him more, I believe. Like, you can just gank easier on Hecarim compared to Lilia. And we've also never seen the Garen and Camille matchup, so that's still a big question mark for me. So.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to see that Garen Camille one. I'm kind of surprised that hadn't come through. So I think both the champions are typically pretty popular, but
yeah, same.
I don't know.
I think it's the same with like the Hecarim Lilia. It just hasn't happened yet somehow. So
about to find out.
Yeah, but I think that's really it for champion matchup. If we could slide over into the game here.
Game 1 of the best of 3 to win the Bilgewater Brawl. Should be good.
Best of 3 of Fearless. We will have to see.
Any predictions?
I'm going to. Okay, I can't do predictions because I know the results. I'll just not bother.
Fair enough.
I don't know the exact games, but I do know the results, so we will not bother. Yeah. Someone leaked it to me, so Dean, go on a crusade, find the infidels, and punish them. All right, and it appears as we're loading into game, nothing too crazy in terms of runes. Hog opting for the fleet footwork on the Vayne instead of like a lethal tempo setup is super good, I think, just to like try to sustain in this lane.
Yeah. Ghost on Draven, combat summoner, but definitely think Ghost is fine.
Yeah. Both of the poke mages opting for Comet, they're knowers. They know there's nothing's happening in this lane, so I will say Avery opting for the Conquer on the Garen instead of the more common phase rush setup. I believe this is kind of bad just because with Camille you kind of can't really full commit with the Conquer, otherwise she'll just walk away from you with the W and the E. So I would have preferred to see the phase rush setup coming out from Avery here, but Conquer is still like not the worst on Garen. So
yeah, I mean, I think if he's committing to that play style of trying to just stick on them, then that's why you'd want to do Conqueror.
Yeah,
but I definitely kind of see what you're saying. Phase rush definitely gives you like different trade patterns.
Yeah, and it also like helps you versus catching with like Lilia.
Oh, we should point out Hecarim's stealing the Raptors right now. I'm not sure if they actually know that's happening.
They didn't actually spot this out. This is a pretty common Hecarim, or like I think you see this strategy a lot with like Kayn players where they start opposite side and just take the red side. I think Cam is just using the fact that he knows that they have no vision there to try to grab this red Raptors and be really far ahead of Alana. So,
what do you predict Cam will do? Maybe try to go top or just commit to the clear?
There's like a couple different options here. You can either take Krugs and base and just try to do your red side so that Alana can't vertically you. Or you can try to go for the gank top lane, like you said, and try to snowball your top laner if they don't know the gank is coming. Or you can just go straight back to blue and just do the standard vertical and assume Lilia just knew you did it and invaded you in response. So we'll have to see how Cam plays it out, but the safest play is obviously just to do the vertical. Like, there's no punish for you doing the vertical, and Alana's just out of 3 camps now.
Yeah, so what's going through Alana's mind right now, other than like, oh shit, like what should her strategy be when you realize you've been like hit like this?
There is actually like almost no counterplay to this if you don't know you've been verticaled. Like, there's not much you can do. You can try to invade the enemy jungler, but Hecarim is stronger than you, so there's actually not much you can do. The only play you have left is to like either burger flip a gank or just like try to fist fight the Hecarim, and I doubt fist fighting the Hecarim will really work here. So I'll have to see how she plays it out. Looks like Cam did just get the blue buff, so there's not really anything Alana can do. Like, she's just shit out of luck in terms of XP. She knows the Hecarim can cross over into her red side or into his red side if he wants to, and just deny the red buff take. So there's literally nothing she can do.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation.
Yeah. And
Hong and Cat are actually getting the priority so far in this lane.
Yeah, definitely losing out a little bit of CS to try to poke more aggressively, but Cam has is gonna have like a really strong lead after this clear. Already up 8 CS, so 2 camps worth of golden XP on the Lilia, and you see Lilia just has to go take the top grabs. Level 2 Raptors should kind of slingshot her back into the game a little bit because of how camp XP works, and Hong is actually getting Dean super low, super good trading. Cam's here, he's ghosting and Eing in, and does manage to pick up first blood for the Hecarim. Honestly, he could look for Alana's Gromp here, and is choosing to go for it. He sees that it's just spawned, and this means that the XP that you get from level 2 Gromp is super big, so you're pretty happy just picking this up instead of getting your red side. So
definitely, Hecarim's getting huge, especially with that first blood. Really not what you're wanting to see out of the Draven lane. Like, you know, you pick that early in the draft. Your game plan's obviously to kind of try to snowball there, and
yeah, oh, he could be running into the Lilia here, but just gets the phase rush proc and starts to leave. Dean is here on the rotate though, but Cam should be out. Also, this new Hecarim skin is very pretty. I do have to side note a little bit. The scythe animation looks really cool. It's kind of like Reaper Hecarim, but with better particles. So a little bit of a riot chill here. You should pick up the skin if you are a Hecarim enjoyer. Shout out to Cesarius for gifting me the skin, by the way. Like, my goat. Anyways, Cam is finally starting to get into his red side and just gonna clear this up and probably reset. So
yeah, both mid laners kind of blew flash while all that stuff was happening bot side as well. So maybe the junglers could kind of find a gank, but as you've already mentioned, they both play so far away that it is difficult.
And it looks like so in my mind, if I'm playing the Hecarim, I would just do the rest of my red side and then base and try to keep my camps sequencing downwards so I could gank bot lane again. But Cam opts to skip finishing his clear and is gonna look for a bot lane gank here. A hook does land onto the Vayne, heal coming out from Kathy, and Dean does get condemned away. A little bit of awkward timing, but nothing should really happen here. And the play is just disengaged here. And Avery getting a kill, solo kill on top lane, just Demacia Justice spin to win, baby.
Yeah, that's awesome to see for Avery.
Yeah. Like, Cam is still here for the play and does manage to pick up a kill onto Dean as well. Like, this Hecarim is going to be super strong in this game so far. Has had a lot of impact, like I was saying. Also still up like 12 CS, so like 3 camps. So
yeah, definitely the start you wanted if you're a Midwives fan.
Yeah. Cam is in such a good position to start snowballing this game. You never want to see the Hecarim with this kind of lead early if you're a squishy range champion. So yeah, I'm curious. Sorry, continue.
I was gonna say, I think at this point it's kind of difficult too, because I think if you're mid or Milky Way's top side, you know, you're fine with scaling. Like, I think the Camille probably will start beating the Garen at some point.
Mhm.
and Lilia scales perfectly fine. But that's counter to what your bot lane needs to do. Like in this Draven
Yeah,
versus Vayne matchup, you don't want to be the scaling side, so it's kind of difficult for them to come up with a game plan now.
yeah. Alana is hero with this gank. The flash from Avery does come out. Blake does manage to hit the hook shot, and the ulti coming out for Avery here does dodge out on the watch out Eep, I believe is the W name, and
Wow.
does get the return kill because of tower. Super well played from Avery to dodge out all the damage and live with a little bit of HP.
He's trying to rewrite that player matchups win-loss a little bit here.
Yes,
Having a
sir. We
really
love
great
to see
game
that from him.
with the blind pick as well. Let's not forget.
Yeah, true. Looks like Cam is here for a counter gank potentially, but is just opting to let Avery hit the minions here. Cam's looking for an invade here. I don't know if he'll get anything. Yeah, just chooses to finally base. Gonna be a huge buy for him. I'm curious to see which build he goes for. There's a couple different Hecarim builds available to you right now. There's like a Stride Breaker with Spear of Shojin setup, and it looks like that's what he's opting for with the Lucidity Boots first purchase. Lucidity Boots on Hecarim are just super fucking good. Getting your Q cooldown to like almost nothing, and also just getting additional Ghost cooldown is super valuable. So
Definitely, I think that makes a lot of sense.
all right, and it does appear that Joel has a bit of an edge in this matchup. I think Ziggs poke is a little better early game, so could explain a little bit of the CS discrepancy here. Looks like Cam is still looking for these invades. Does manage to pick up Alana's Raptors, and he's just expanding his gold lead. Has up so many camps, and Hong is looking for another aggressive trade onto the Vayne here.
Yeah, that was the result of a trade where Mythic hit a pretty nice hook through the minion wave, but this matchup's just in a lot of trouble at this point.
Yeah, it's so hard for the Draven to have any sort of comeback into the Vayne, because the Vayne does kind of outscale you. Looks like Kev is opting to start the Rift Herald here, so should be a nice gold influx for him as a champion. Looks like Blake is rotating over, but does get spotted out by the Garen, and they do manage to pick it up. There is a potential dragon play in response, but not really because their bot lane is ultra shoved. Hog flashing in, does auto the tower on accident, and now might be in a little bit of trouble. Does flash away from the Nautilus. Going 1-for-1 is a little suspect, but Nautilus does get the kill, so I'd say it's probably worth.
Yeah, like you said, Nautilus got the kill, not the Draven, and you were crashing a wave, so that's some extra gold and experience missed. So
Yeah.
you don't love to death, but I mean you're 5-1 right now, 3K gold lead. You're pretty comfortable.
Yeah. I believe with the items in Hong's inventory, this should be a Storm Razor first, or is it Shiv? I don't know what Vayne's build nowadays. But either one's pretty good. Is pretty strong in like fights versus the Draven, so I'll have to see what happens here. Stanley and Joel just constantly pushing into each other. Ziggs is just getting the better push though. As I said, I think the champion's just a little easier to push with, so
Yep, and that's pretty huge with that tower damage. I mean, if you're able to use that Herald mid, you could just take first turret at this point.
yeah, looks like that he might be looking for a bot lane play. There are no vision here. Kev is here with the ghost. Does jiggle back a little bit to see if he can bait out Mythic CC, and Dean does just get locked up into the wall versus the Vayne. And Mythic is not able to do any kind of damage with the Soraka still up, and a double kill going over to the Vayne. This is very disastrous for the side of Milky Way here.
Yeah, that's pretty rough, but nice by Cam to see that timing. They had pushed a little far up. Gonna turn it into a dragon, and then you still have the Rift Herald for another play.
Ocean Dragon tends to be one of the better dragons for early game. Gives you all of your laners a little bit of that extra sustain, just to stay in lane a little longer, so could be pretty useful for his team. We'll have to see how he utilizes this Herald. Should be pretty interesting to watch. Oh yeah, and Hong does offer the Storm Razor. This puts like a lot of damage onto your Q on Vayne, I believe, more so than your like autos with the W. So looking for a more bursty centric Vayne build, I'd say, rather than like the sustained damage kind of Vayne.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense here, I think.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Hecarim mythics? Because I feel like I'll usually see him go a few different ones.
Typically, if you're into like squishy team comps, and you can play like an assassin play. Oh, good ulti from Joel to also pick up Stanley there. Super good combo from him. But back to what I was saying, Hecarim has a couple different options. If you're trying to be more frontline, I'd say Stridebreaker plus Spear of Shojin with like a Conqueror setup is a little bit better. And if you're trying to like play for more one-shot assassin play style, Ghostblade with Shojin is a bit better in my opinion. Looks like Hong does get hooked here. Kathy is here to back him up. The Ignite coming out, the ulti comes down, but he is so fucking strong and he is not able to get here. He is just so fucking snowballed and is unable to be killed because of the Soraka standing beside him. So
Yeah, at this point it's so difficult because you're never gonna win if you don't go on Soraka, but if you go on the
Yeah.
Soraka, Vayne just kills you before you kill Soraka anyway.
yeah,
And
and
go ahead.
and to talk about it a little more, we are seeing like the issues that Lilia has into like the Hecarim, like I was talking about. This Hecarim is so accelerated off that level 1 invade that like there's not really much you can do on the Lilia side of this matchup. So once Hecarim gets snowballing, it's really hard to kind of shut him down.
Yeah, we're seeing that difficulty right now.
Oh my gosh, a really good ulti to get the fear back from Cam here. And should be a kill. Flash from Stanley is super good, and they do just take the second tower charge. But
Yeah, nice flash to stay alive there, but that was a really clean Hecarim combo.
yeah,
Turret plating will fall soon.
And it does look like he's going to go for that Stridebreaker build, so kind of wanting to be the more tankier member, which makes sense when you have a Soraka that can keep you healed up, and then you have such fed carries as well.
yeah. Pairing it with like a Vayne who you know is going to be able to like do damage is like super useful as well. So I do like this adaptation from Cam. Yeah, Phase Rush is a little non-standard on like Stridebreaker setups, but I think if you take Phase Rush for like flexibility, I think it's fine as well. Looks like Blake is still trying to trade super aggressively onto the Garen here. Has the Trinity Force, so is a little stronger than the Garen, I believe, in the 1v1s. Garen has Berserkers, but can't really keep up his Conqueror stacks if Camille hits the W and walks away, so...
They're behind Camille here.
Yeah. Looks like Cam is going for a play here. Does manage to get the 1v1. Super well played from Blake. Does dodge out the W from Cam and just takes the kill from Joel. Super
the
well played.
reinforcements just took a little too long to arrive. I feel like Avery was kind of trying to bait him, keep him interested, but the Hextech ultimatum just, once you started baiting, you were dead there.
Yeah. Doesn't manage to live on a sliver of HP like last time, but does get the 1-for-1 trade, so... And the Hecarim just simply keeps accelerating. Looks like bot lane is also going to try to pick up this tower as well. They can do it, honestly. Hong is playing so ego here. Ulti coming out from Mythic, but the heal from Soraka. Ooh, a TP coming out from Blake here. The hookshot coming in from Blake, and Kathy is doing her best to kite. Does flash away, but Blake does manage to pick up the kill here. And Alana is here as well. Doesn't manage to hit anything. The snowball coming out and the sleep coming out as well. Hong is under tower though, and the the Inferno Mega Bomb or Mega Inferno Bomb coming out to get a 1-for-1 trade onto Blake here. Looks like Cam and Joel are also here as well. The reinforcements have arrived, and the Cam just walking in, slapping people with his wallet, and another kill for the Hecarim. Hecarim 403 here. Champs weak, I suppose, surely.
Yeah, really good kiting by Hong, and then, like you said, Hecarim shows up, and he's pretty big. He doesn't even have a completed item yet, which is pretty crazy. And going for nice, I guess.
Yeah, he is opting for the tier setup. A lot of Hecarims have stopped building tier simply because there are better items in this slot, in my opinion, for Hecarim. You used to have to build it because Hecarim would have really bad mana issues, but since the buffs to his mana per level, I think, or it's his mana regen, one of those two, I feel like he's had less reliance on this tier item compared to old builds, but I think it's like kind of fine if you're trying to be a little more like a sustained bruiser. It does add a lot of DPS to your combos, so we'll have to see how it plays out. And it should be a second dragon for the side of midwives here. Mountain dragon, pretty good.
At this point, you're 11k gold down at 16 minutes. You're probably thinking about the next game.
Yeah.
Right. And Blake is still
rough.
pretty strong, so, you know, he's found some good plays.
Yeah, and it looks like, who got the Herald? Oh, Avery stole the Herald from Blake here. That's really fucking funny. Kathy able to keep him alive here as well. So Hong is playing a little ego here. Did opt for the Essence Reaver, so they're going for more of like the Q Max one-shot Vayne builds rather than the DPS builds like I was talking about. So we'll have to see how that shakes out for him. It tends to do a little better with fleet just because you can like stack the fleet with like your Q and then just get one big shot and then run away.
Yeah,
Stanley is in the bush. Double bind coming out. The ulti full combo. The ults from Mythic comes out as well, but gets silenced. Hong dodges the ulti from Draven and does manage to pick up the Nautilus here. Dodging out of the Lux Cube, looking to just continue fighting. Hong goes godlike in this fight. My goodness, what a stellar Vayne performance from him, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a really nice play by Stanley to hide in the bush there and combo like that.
Yeah.
If Dean and Mythic had followed up a little bit sooner, I think that maybe could have been a kill, but like you said, Hong's just going off.
Yeah. A little too much to stand from the Soraka. Almost died to the burst, but I think there's a silence that canceled Mythic's ulti or something like that. I have no idea what the exact details of that play were, but it was something like that. The ulti didn't go through and was... I think his stealth canceled it. That's what it was. Vayne's stealth has some really funky interactions, so just managing to live in that play is super good. Another trade top lane. Camille wins this, I'm pretty sure, with Triforce plus the Tiamat. Oh, but never mind. The Demacian Justice coming down and erasing his health bar. Level 2 ulti from Garen does so much damage, and another kill going over to the Garen here. So
Yeah, that's pretty big. Gets a turret because of it.
yeah, and it looks like Alana is opting for either Demonic or Allies here. I'm
Oh,
curious to see which. Flash Q from Avery and just another kill going over to the hack room here. Super good to punish the Lux with the flash. We'll have to see what the next play is. It is a Chem Soul. Again, not the greatest soul, but it's like okay. Looks like him is opting for the Cleaver second, I think. These are Cleaver components. Yeah. No Spear of Shojin, which is pretty surprising for Hackerim. It has been one of his better items for a while, so opting for not building it is pretty interesting. And Alana is gonna go for the Rylai's here, like I was talking about. I think this build does a little better into like specifically Udyr, but it's like kind of decent for Hackerim as well. If you hit the Q, like he loses some AD from his passive, so it's not the worst.
yeah, that makes
And
sense.
it gives you like a little bit of sustainability versus the Hackerim as well.
Avery with the Hull Breaker, committing to that split push playstyle.
Yeah, it looks like an ulti coming out, and Hong does manage to live. Combo coming out onto Kathy, and now he's into 5 people. The Hackerim is here though, and it looks like they're just gonna get a wall of diff. Hong is still alive in this fight, by the way, but Blake does manage to pick up a kill in response, but it is just a ginormous astronomical wallet diff. I'm just slapping the shit out of them with this super fed Hackerim, so.
Yeah, I think that'll be game 1, potentially, because Ziggs takes turrets so quickly.
Yeah, and Garen does like a really good job at shredding towers with his Q and stuff, so we'll have to see how much they can get off of this.
Justin, he
Might just be a double
a little
inhib.
early, so yeah, might just stop it inhib. Yeah, the respawns are coming through, but double inhib at this point in the game is pretty big. Should
Yeah.
turn that into a Baron.
Yeah, there's a Baron angle, there's a Chemsel angle in like 30 minutes.
Oh
Oh my
my
gosh, the damage from Joel coming out with the minefield, I don't know what it's called, into the ulti. Super well played from Joel. That's like a little bit of that Ziggs mastery though, knows his damage.
I mean, 4-0 and 8 on the Ziggs, up like almost 60 farm, a whole item, like having a super strong performance. But I mean, I rarely see him not have a strong performance on the Ziggs. He is probably the best Ziggs in the server, super high mastery on it. He's really good at it.
Yeah, and we do see the ghost play coming out from the Vayne. It is like this more AD lethality setup rather than the on-hit build. So, just trying to stay out of ranges of the enemy team. So I like this from Hong. It just like makes your trade patterns a little bit better into these bursty champions. You can kind of burst them back. So, oh my gosh, and he just Q forwards and obliterates Stanley's health bar with 1 Q. My god, he's going in. He flashes in and does hit Dean with the 3 autos, but doesn't manage to kill him in time. The Soraka is here to try to bail him out, and he is kiting super well. Lana does flash in, trying to get the play, and Hong is still kiting her out. the third proc coming in, and
Wow.
Hong is probably just gonna kill all of them here. Looks like he does manage to get in range, and the Q coming out. A little bit of a 1v1 coming out here top lane, but the Hextech Ultimatum doesn't really net him anything. The hookshot coming out, he does whiff. Blake is unable to get the kill, and it looks like Cam will pick up one from top side as well. And this could be the end of the game, honestly.
Yeah, the fight in the base was pretty crazy. I thought Hong played it really well, but I mean, honestly, if we're being real, the true MVP there was definitely Kathy. He went a little too far, but when she showed up, she sacrificed her life, gave him the health he needed to make that happen.
Yes, sir. Kathy is favorite Soraka player, to be honest. Always willing to sacrifice HP bar for her teammates, and it really paid off there because Hong was able to get 2v3. Super impressive play from them, and it looks like just a Baron start from them. Probably uncontestable from the side of Milky Way.
Yeah.
You have 2 down inhibs, and you are just
Yeah,
way
they should
weaker.
be able to end the game in the next minute or two with this Baron.
Yeah, and we do get the Flame Horizon coming out from Cam here. 100 CS up on Alana. Really took that 3 camp lead and ran with it till the end of time. So
Yeah, that opening play just kind of never really had a chance after that. And
yeah, that's
that's
what I kind of
difficult.
mean by like there's no real counterplay unless you flip a gank on this champion. Like there's like almost nothing she could really do from that play. So it's just a really rough spot. They're just gonna try to siege down all these inhibs. All 3 inhibs down for the side of Milky Way here, and they're just gonna try to clear up this game for them.
Yep.
Have to see how this base siege goes. They have Ziggs with the long range poke, so they can sit here for a while. Ulti coming out from the Ziggs, and they're just chunking these towers. Mythic dropping super low. Blake dropping the Hextech Ultimatum, but the wish from this rocket keeps everyone topped off, and it looks like it's just going to be a dominant game 1 for the side of the midwives here. Super good performance from them.
Yeah.
Overall, no one really did super bad. Like Hong had a really pop-off performance on the Vayne, but Cam took that 3 camp lead and really just never let it go. Able to snowball this game on the Hecarim.
Yeah, super impressive game for Midwives. That's 2 in a row they've beat over Milky Way now, and now Milky Way's gonna have to, if they want to win it,
Yeah.
win 2 in a row. I kind of want to talk about how the Fearless draft's going to kind of affect the next draft. Because
Yeah.
I think, I'm most excited to see literally anything else in the mid lane. No more of these artillery champions. There's a
Yeah, they
couple
are
more,
really boring to watch. I will agree.
but I think mid lane's about to get super exciting. And like I said, I think Joel on those 3 champions is super, super elite. I'm excited to see what he'll bring out
Yeah.
next.
Wait. Dean, can you pull up the last draft? I want to screenshot it real quick for reference. Or is that too much effort?
I also think Fearless
All
Draft's
right.
going to be
Thank you.
beneficial for Milky Way, not only in the mid lane matchup. I think being able to ban out more ADCs will help out there. I do want to see Dean go on to something a little more comfortable. He'd only had 1 game on the Draven. I think when you're playing against a player like Hong, who's really good, but I definitely think Dean can match him when he's on his best champions as well.
Yeah, I
So
do think the matchup is pretty close. This time the key matchup around is going to be Blake versus or was it the same last time? I don't remember. But this time around it is Blake versus Avery. Avery is tying up the matchup tables a little bit. Trying to bring it back. Had a super good performance on the Garen. Blind picked it and did well into the Camille, which is the supposed counterplay pick. So I'm curious to see what they go on to play here. I think the Ornn is still up for Avery. I think Darius is also still up, if I remember. I'm not entirely sure though. And the
yeah,
Scion is still up, and his Riven, I think. So I'm curious to see what the next couple of picks are going to be from him. And it looks like Blake's also still has quite a few of his champions up. The Alawi is still up, so curious to see which one he falls to next.
yeah, he had that really good Nasus game last night as well. He could try to pull that
Yeah.
out again at some point. Honestly, though, I'm really want to see what Alana's going to go for because we had talked about how good she'd been on the Sejuani, and she got pushed off of that this game. Since it's
And
Fearless Draft, you're already pushed off of it again. And I
yeah.
think the Lilia, it wasn't like awful. She had the unfortunate start with the invade, but
Yeah.
I want to see her go back more to a champion that kind of plays a similar role as Sejuani in
Agreed.
like playing for your team, good team fight setup, like something like that. Because when she was doing that yesterday, the games were a lot smoother for her team. It felt like.
Yeah, I feel like the less punishable tank champions could be super interesting. I will say there's also an angle. I don't know if this ever comes up, but there is an angle to like put Lana top and then have Blake jungle. I don't know if that's anything that they considered, but there Blake has been a pretty good jungler historically, so I'm curious if they ever do that. I have my doubts about it, but I think it's
Yeah,
funny to mention.
I doubt it because I think the way the matchups are right now is better. I think
Yeah,
maybe
I agree.
say I'm not really sure. I don't think I've seen Blake and Cam go versus each other, but I think Alana's looked
Yeah.
really good in the jungle this tournament, and I think
Yeah,
just get her on a champion that's
comfortable
just gonna be a
champion.
little bit easier to pilot with your team because when she was
Yeah.
setting up for Stanley and Blake yesterday, it was
It
going
was
really, really well.
yeah, she was playing it super well, punishing a lot of Cam's, like, over aggression, which, was felt really good for her, to see from her, so
Champs to watch is a little bit moot just because so many of these champs aren't gonna be available. I mean, I think you mentioned
yeah,
how a couple of them still are, but
yeah,
and then key player Hong makes sense completely.
yeah, we did see, like, the ultra dominant Vayne performance. I do believe his Jinx, Zeri, and Ashe are still up. I think his Jinx is super fearsome, so I'm curious to see if they have any draft plans for that. I imagine it won't make it past the first 3 bans, but, we'll have to see. Historically, his Zeri has been really good. But the champion is also kind of dog water right now.
Yeah.
And as Ash has also been historically pretty good, but I'm pretty sure some of those were on support Ash more so than like ADC Ash. So I'm curious to see what comes up
I'm of the
from
opinion
that.
Dash is pretty strong, and I
Yeah,
think also Dean has played it really well, I think, so I could see
yeah,
either team kinda trying to go for that this game. Because I think if Dean goes back to that utility style, the Ashe and then the Jhin are probably the 2 best options, so
yeah.
I'd like to see something like that.
Yeah, but and the key player for Milky Way is going to be Stanley. We do have to harp on this once more. We are gonna have to see a little bit of a deeper champion pool from both mid laners this time around. A lot of his picks have been banned out. The Victor is banned, the Zillion is banned, the Syndra is banned, Lux has been picked,
Mhm.
Ziggs is off the table. I'm curious to see what next is in our young mid laners pool. There's the Cassidy angle still alive. I think I've seen him play a couple Nico games. His
He's
Nico
played
isn't
yeah.
terrible either.
He had a really good
Uh,
Stylus game, like a week or 2 ago where he popped off pretty
yeah.
hard, if I remember right, and I think both players are gonna be pushed further in their pool, obviously.
Uh,
But I do think it's gonna benefit Stanley just because we've seen a little bit more of a pull from him, and also I'm just
yeah.
not sure. I haven't seen a game from Joel where he wasn't on an artillery mage that was just like
Yeah.
he was just dominating. Like, it's not to say he's
Yeah.
not putting up a good performance, but he doesn't just control the game like he does sometimes with those other picks. So I'm just
Yeah.
super excited for this matchup.
Yeah. This game too is definitely going to be super hype. I'm super excited. All right. And it looks like for midwives, we see 3 support bans versus Mythic. The Rel, Thresh, and Leona just really destroying these aggressive engaged supports. And then for the side of midwives, we have the uh Jinx, like I was talking about. This champion did not make it through uh the third rotation or the first rotation like I predicted. Um and it looks like the first pick for the side I actually hold on. The Riven also didn't make it through. Avery's Riven is super feared, so I'm glad to see that got removed. And the Zaya taken off the table. Zaya is just like a really good pick, just to make sure that they can't do any Zyra shenanigans or just like have a really strong draft.
Mhm.
Hold on.
Yeah, Mythic really got attacked in this draft, which is that's just something you're gonna see with Fearless. So that's pretty cool, but still got the Blitzcrank, so I don't think that's the worst pick for him. Like, he's put up a good performance
Yeah,
on those engaged champions, so excited to see
yeah,
that. But Yuumi first pick is that's bold. I mean, they probably had
yeah,
this strategy in mind with the Neela, or maybe I think he
yeah.
played Twitch as well the other day with that and did really well. So
Yeah, I think Kathy's Yumi is pretty good. A lot of Hong's champions do also accelerate this kind of Yumi playstyle. It's just make one person go really good, and that would be a Yumi, all right. And they opt to try to punish it with the Blitzcrank. and then they pick Orianna. Stanley's Orianna, I don't think we've seen too much of, but Orianna is a really strong champion right now and has like a good synergy. Just like jack of all trades kind of thing, is also like master of all of them at this point because the
Yeah.
champion's really good right now.
Well,
Uh,
and with blind picking it here, like I think the best matchups into Orianna are things like either the Xerath, the Ziggs, the control mages, but also the Syndra, which had also been
Yeah.
banned last game. So at this point, there's like no mage matchup to pick into Orianna that I think
Yeah.
just bullies her. So it's just like the perfect picker for Stanley. They try
Yeah.
to answer it with the Annie,
Mhm.
which I don't hate it because you are pushed in your pool and Annie has a lot of damage, so like you can blow the Orianna up. But if the Orianna spaces really well and just positions the ball really well, it can be difficult for the Annie to ever actually get on her without using
Yeah.
flash.
I would agree. I also think this is a really good denial pick because Joel's Orianna has been really good in the past, and just taking it away from Joel is like super good here.
Definitely.
This pick is just so good in my opinion. I think Midwives probably should have had a bit of a better read and tried to pick away the Orianna for themselves potentially. But yeah, I think this is a really good setup from Milky Way, getting a good punish into the Yumi with the Blitzcrank, and then just denying Joel a super big pick with the Orianna. And then I think Neela Yumi is like a pretty interesting lane. You can accelerate the Yumi scaling a little bit by giving her extra levels. And then you like kind of enable this Exodia champion that is unkillable with the Yumi. So I'm curious to see how that plays out in this game. And then we get the Briar pick from
That's
Alana
exciting.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we talked about going away from a carry, but went right back to it. And
yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, I think Briar's strong. I haven't played her a ton, but every time I see her, she does pretty well. So I think it's a good pick.
Yeah. I think Briar is a really interesting champion. I think her assassin builds are like super strong right now, whereas her bruiser builds aren't super great. I think the champion's a little one-dimensional for like drafts. Like she kind of just does the one thing, which is walk at people really, really well, and everything else is like kind of whatever. She has like okay objective setup. She's like all right in 1v1s. Or she's like really good in 1v1s, but it's like uh, outside of like hitting an R in team fights, it's like kind of hard for you to impact them. So I'm curious to see how it goes for the pilot. And in terms of R2 bans, we do see the Rammus ban. I guess I don't know. Rammus is considered a counter pick into Briar. It's like a really easy counter pick to pilot as well, and they choose to ban out Cam's Rek'Sai. Sure. I think this is for the best for Midwives, honestly, to prevent Cam from locking in that Garbanzo Beans champion. But uh, they also choose to ban out the GP and the Varus for the side of Milky Way. I think Dean's Varus historically has been pretty good, and Blake's GP is always something to consider. So I do like these bans from the side of Midwives as well.
Yeah, I think the bans make a lot of sense. I'm a little surprised that Gangplank got this far before getting banned, and
Yeah.
I'm surprised Blake just obviously definitely respects Avery a lot to not just be willing to blind pick that.
Yeah. So I do respect them removing it at this point. There is a Swain lock in here. I imagine this is Swain ADC.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good into the Nyla just because you're not autoing and you can kind of negate her Counter Strike ability. I have no idea what it's fucking called.
Yeah.
But her W, just like negate that utility and just try to play with like QW poke kind of setup on the Swain. Like you can kind of negate part of the champion's kit. Um, Cam is locking in the Maokai here. Bro is subjecting himself to the resident sleeper tree duty. The champion is still really good. A lot of flexible builds. You can go like demonic into Radiant Virtue. You can just go full tank. Um, champion has like a lot of easy gank setup. Flash W is the ability of all time, by the way. But really easy gank setup. A lot of ways to play for your team. Throwing down the ult in like river fights is so hard to navigate around as the enemy team. And Avery choosing to blind the Tryndamere here, I think his Tryndamere is pretty fearsome, has played it before in the past, had quite a few good games, even though I think in a couple of them he has forgotten where his R key is located sometimes, if I remember correctly, but happens to the best of us. I think the champion's pretty good, so I'm curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, I think they make sense. And I don't know though. I'm a little bit worried for the side of midwives because
Mhm.
there's a lot of healing on the side of Milky Way with Briar, Swain, and Alawi. And
Yeah.
if you're not in a pretty powerful position, I could see it being really hard to kill all those targets.
Yeah, and they do also choose to counter pick with the Alawi. I have no idea how this matchup goes. I don't play top lane. But I do kind of see your point. They are sort of going healing versus healing. Like Yumi plus Nyla is like a whole bunch of healing, and you're gonna try to out heal the Swain and the Briar, which is a pretty interesting strategy. Maokai also has a lot of healing with the passive and occasional heals from Yumi, so I'm curious to see how this game will play out for them. Heal cut will have a lot of value. I would like to see Cam maybe go for like an Oblivion Orb at some point. Maokai can itemize a lot of AP, so I think there should be a lot of prior on that. But
Yeah, that makes sense. I do like the Tryndamere as well because it's also another person that Yumi can have a lot of value on in the later
Yeah.
game.
all right, if we get into the champion matchups here a little bit, apparently no one has played the Eli versus Tryndamere matchup or the Briar versus Maokai matchup, which is pretty fair. Briar is a pretty new champion, hasn't been locked in a whole bunch. This game is just full of unknown matchups apparently. Annie has beaten Orianna once, but I think beating a champion once does not mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
To be completely honest. And then the Yumi versus Blitzcrank. Apparently Yumi had a 6.0 KDA, but it's not hard to have good KDs on Yumi. And the Blitzcrank did win the game and had a way less better KD, but Jim's harder to play. So yeah.
Overall records pretty even across the board for almost all of these. Swain with a pretty nice win record, excuse me. Neela as
Yeah.
well. But pretty even for a lot of those ones that have just kind of had a lot of games.
Blake is 7-3 on the Alawi though. Has performed historically quite well on this champion Dean, and Stanley on the Orianna has performed in the past as well. Curious to see how it'll go for him. This is a new champion for Joel though, actually. First time being the Annie. We'll have to see how it goes. And yeah, Hong's also revisiting the Nyla after a while. Did win the last game, but hasn't played it in a while. So we'll have to see how it shakes out in game.
Yeah. Dean undefeated on the Swain is pretty interesting. Only 2 games, but when he pulled it out, he's done well with it. So, like I said, I
Yeah.
think this is a good spot for it. So I'm kind of excited to see how he does because he's looking for that bounce back. Because that game 1 was definitely a little rough. Alana's stuck in base here, but they it doesn't look like they paused, so they're not too worried about it.
Yeah, looks like it's just gonna be the level 1 5-man in a bush versus the Blitzcrank. We'll have to see if there's an invade coming out here. Cam is opting for the phase rush setup instead of the first strike. I think first strike is kind of a dog shit rune, so having the phase rush utility guaranteed is pretty solid in my opinion. And opting for red smite I think is a lot better because you get like the extra splash damage on your saplings. So I do kind of like this setup from him.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. But what do you kind of predict the early game plan should be for maybe a Briar champion? Because a lot of people haven't seen that yet.
I think Briars tend to try to full clear and maybe look for opportune ganks if you have it. Cam has level 7 Maokai. That's just sad, bro. Anyways, I think Briar can look for like ganks top or mid. And he has a lot of short range, and the Orianna is pretty good at setting up the ganks into the Annie because you can sort of like you have the range advantage, so you can set up the wave to really assist your Briar in these gank setups. I think the Maokai should also just be looking for level 3 ganks. This champion, you get level 3, you press W on someone, and you pray they die. And if they don't die, you blame your laner because you used all your abilities in the correct sequencing. It's like really impossible to mess up. The definitely should always be looking to be super active on the Maokai, in my opinion. And I do also want to point out the Aerie on the Orianna. I think this is not super standard. Most Oris are opting for like the phase rush setup. And
Yeah.
I think into like a shorter range matchup, I think the Aerie could net you a little more damage, but the phase rush could also just prevent the Maokai from killing you at a lot of instances. So I'm curious to see how it shakes out for him.
Yeah, I definitely think phase rush is really good in a game like this where you're trying to kite out champions like Maokai and Tryndamere and even like Vanilla.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Airy just makes your already strong lane even stronger. So if we can
Yeah.
see him build like a CS advantage or something like that, then I think it could be worth.
Yeah, looks like Dean and Mythic are looking to trade super aggressively here. Potential hook angle from Mythic, but Nala does dash away with the slipstream. I only know this ability name because it's the name of a card in LOR, so shout out to that game, to be honest. And it looks like not really much is happening. Both junglers are just opting for the full clear up. Alana did stop to try to defensively ward, I think. I don't know what she did, but yeah, is a little behind Cam in terms of tempo. Hong is dashing onto the Swain here, just autoing him down, and the ignite comes out though. I don't know if they win this, but Nyla does get the first, or Yumi does get the first blood. The shield coming out for the side of Midwives, and another kill potentially coming out for the Nyla here. Huge play from the bot lane of the Midwives here.
Yeah, Hong and Kathy have been playing extremely well this series.
Yeah. There is a reason this was the best bot lane in Season 4, by the way. And you're kind of seeing it in these games. They are smurfing on everybody, so...
Yeah, the one nice thing here is, unlike last game, I think Swain, you're still going to scale and be relevant, unlike something like the Draven, where you're a little more pressured to make the early plays go
and
well.
here is the gank that I was talking about. Cam walking over, it hits his combo. Yeah, Maokai is really hard, guys, I promise. Stanley might just get the kill, though. Joel has no damage. Stanley just really confident in his damage, and
he doesn't even
plays it
flash!
super well. Yeah, it doesn't even have to flash. Super well played from Stanley here, and Mythic here to bail him out a little bit so he doesn't get the kill traded back. Super well played from Stanley here, and we do kind of see the airy value. Like, you did just have the extra damage to just burst them out and live there still. So
you don't need phase to run away if you're just gonna stand your ground and fight. That was so
Yes,
impressive.
sir.
There, doesn't even like he knew his damage so and his life so well. Not even using your flash there. That's such a big win for the Orianna.
yeah, and it looks like Cam is looking for the invade onto the Briar here, but no prio from the bot lane. Swain is rotating up, but Nyla is also matching the rotate here. The pull coming out from the Swain, and the flash W onto Mythic, and another kill potentially going out for the Nyla here. And the Nyla is now 2-0-1 with the Berserker Greaves. Maokai did burn flash for that, but I think you take those 10 items out of 10, just getting this Nyla snowballed.
Yeah, definitely. You saw what putting the eggs in the Hong basket can do all tournament. Not surprised they're going for that again.
Yeah. Him realizing you can just play tanks and feel for your really good AD carry. Love that for him, honestly.
I am a little disappointed we haven't seen any action towards the Alawi before she hits that level 6 power point, because it does have farm lead, but Avery was getting a pretty good health advantage.
Cam might be caught here.
No flash.
The Q coming out. Hong is here on the rotate, but Stanley is also on his way, but looks like they're just going to take the disengage here. Greed's out for this Gromp a little bit, but no punish from the side of Milky Way.
Does manage to get away.
A little bit of highway robbery. High successful or whatever.
I'm really excited for once Briar gets that level 6 to see how impactful these ultimates can be, because I think it's a champion where if you're hitting consistently good ults, it's pretty insane. If you're not, it becomes a lot more difficult to make a good play.
Looks like Briar is going to opt for like the Bruiser setup like I was talking about. I think this build is a little bit weaker than like the Assassin Briar setups. It is a little harder to punish though. Like you are like really, really tanky and can just live a lot longer in fights than these Assassin setups. So
yeah, I will say I don't hate it here at all, because I think if you're playing a full assassin setup into Annie, that could be really difficult. But Tibbers actually does not connect there, so Stanley once again able to kind of just walk it off.
yeah, Stanley is just outspacing Joel on the Annie here. Do love that for him. Oh, Jonah joined and leave. Joined and left. That's really funny. Anyways.
But yeah, you're seeing, like I said, I think Annie can kill the Orianna, but if the Orianna spaces as well as Stanley is, the only angle Joel's ever going to have is like a flash forward, which is super high cooldown.
Yeah, and it looks like Cam is just opting for the full tank setup. Not even a Dark Seal for a little bit of AP. A lot of Maokais do tend to like cheat towards like a little bit of AP, just to have like a little extra poke on the saplings. He was spotted out on this gank. Flash coming out from Joel and a flash in response from Stanley, but the Q knockback, the ulti coming out from Stanley here, and does manage to get one for himself and maybe gets away here. Cam drops super low, but Hong and Kathy are also trading on the bot side here. Does drop Dean to 1 HP, but no kill found.
Super unlucky for the side of.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Lana does pop the W here onto the Briar.
Oh my
W
goodness.
does come out, and the flash comes out from the Briar. Does manage to live there. Super unfortunate play.
That's so tragic for the side of Midwives. I think they made the right play, but Stanley just the good shockwave lives with 1 HP, and then Alana like really knows the Briar damage there to feel confident going under the turret and then flashing out to not get
Yeah.
traded. Like really, really good play out of the side of Milky Wave's mid jungle.
Looks like Avery is just gonna ghost onto the Lowy here. The E onto him. Still has the ulti and does just burn the flash. Trading the entire wave for that though. I don't know if that's really worth it for you.
It depends if they can punish it. You know, if you could turn it into a kill when Blake's back, he doesn't have ult, he doesn't have flash. Maybe you could do Rift Herald after that or something.
Yeah,
It could
there's
end up
definitely
being worse.
potential angles for it. Yeah, looks like Cam is just looking for another invade here. Has the ulti, so is kind of strong in like objective setup. So we'll have to see what he chooses to do with his first ultimate. But Stanley is just so fucking strong. Holly is still really strong in the bot lane. Still looking for these kind of plays. Hook coming out from the Blitzcrank and the Swain here. The ulti comes out from the Swain, but the Yuumi ult on top for the extra healing, and Hong is just dashing through the enemy champions. Flashes forward, doesn't manage to kill the Swain here, and the Swain might live. The Monica Scent, I believe the ulti is called. Yeah, does manage to keep him alive here, and the ulti does wear off though, so intense stuff. Both ultis traded from the bot lane, so have to see if there's any kind of kill angle for either side.
Yep, and the
Briar
hard part
is doing the
of
dragon,
Swain's side is once you've lost that ultimate, you're way less powerful. Where, you know, Neela, she's used her ultimate, but she can keep autoing you, doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, that is true. And it looks like Briar should be able to get the first dragon of the game. Looks like it's going to be a mountain drag.
Yep, one team gets Rift, one team gets Drag. Gonna have to kind of see where Cam chooses to take this Rift Herald. Like, what are your kind of thoughts around that?
Typically, you want to use it to get first tower and try to like open up that side of the map. Like for example, I think placing a bot lane could be really good just to like unlock your Nyla out of bot lane and try to like snowball them a little harder. And it looks like Cam is making the Alawi mistake of going top lane when Alawi has ulti. Ulti comes out from the Alawi here. Cam does manage to get out of range, but Avery does just drop the ult and is potentially able to out heal, and Cam walks back in, takes the kill from Avery as well with the Q. I don't know if that's really worth it at that point. Stanley with a great shockwave though does manage to pick up Joel in the mid lane as well. A lot of action going on in this game, 1-for-1 on the map.
You would have really loved to see that kill go on to Avery. You know, I'm not sure if maybe it was. I mean, it was getting really close. You know, and you don't want him to get traded by a tentacle after his ult wears off or something. But they do also choose to use the rip. But Alana connects.
The Alana ulti connects here.
That's a kill.
Yeah, that should be a kill. Avery has no ulti. Does burn the flash here. Lana is perma berserked, by the way. That's just how Briar works. The E coming out, but does manage to dodge out, and a kill does not go over. Super well played from Avery to dodge it out there.
Yeah, good use of the flash to kind of create enough space that you weren't able to die there, because that ult was pretty nice from Alana for how far away it was.
Yeah. A lot of action in this game so far.
But yeah, during while that was happening, we saw Stanley did find another like a solo kill under the turret, and once you get ahead on the Orianna like this, you can just bully so easily.
Yeah, especially into this like low range mage like Annie. Like the Annie is just never able to trade back into the Orianna. Like you are just getting spaced forever, and I love to see Stanley abusing this kind of matchup for himself. Like he is sitting so well here on the Orianna. And we'll have to see how bot lane chooses to play. Mythic does pop the W, so was looking for a play. It does get slowed up here, though. I'll have to see if he chooses to go for the hook. Chooses not to, because I imagine he knows he will just get exploded. And he is looking for a rotate down here. I don't know if he'll be able to get anything. Does have the flash, so there is an angle here. Flash! Oh, it does just hit the bear raw. It does manage to CC them up, and a huge play from the side of Midwives here. Getting 2 kills for free with the Annie setup.
Yeah, really nice play by Joel to, you know, your lane's not going that well, but just beat Orianna down to bot lane, make a huge play. Your Neela is fed, like, it's really close.
They're also looking for Alana's blue here. Does burn the E super early. Cam is here with the W. A good shockwave coming out from Stanley, but another kill does go over to the side of Midwives onto the Briar here. Good aggressive look from Midwives, knowing that Alana is in this bot quadrant to try to shut them down.
Definitely feeling very confident.
Yeah, this Maokai has just been such a great playmaker. It is very hard to fuck up and engage on this character. You throw ulti or you press W while you're in range, and odds are you will probably get a kill. Flash forward from Dean trying to get the roots onto the team. Potential Briar ulti does not manage to connect here, and so far a really solid play from the side of the Midwives.
Yeah, they've generated a pretty decent gold lead, about the 1k
Yeah.
or 2k.
Alana.
So
Oh, Cam does just off straight for the demonic embrace finish. So he is getting that AP like I was talking about here.
yeah, I feel like usually you see that with like the first strike, but definitely gonna be doing damage. The saplings get so annoying once this item is completed.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks like Alana is opting for the Stride Breaker, just to try to be able to catch the range champions. I would think Gore Drinker is a little bit better here if you're opting for like a bruiser setup, simply because a lot of Midwives is really short range, and getting like a good clump Gore Drinker with like your E makes you like have 3 health bars. So let's see how it
I
goes.
am curious to see what Dean's building, because going for the Lost Chapter makes sense, but typically you see Leandre's
Another
on its way.
ulti from Hong here. Does not have the damage to kill though, and just gets obliterated by the Swain with ulti up. This is kind of what we're talking about though. The Nyla is kind of, you do have to go into the Swain. Another shockwave coming out from Stanley, but Joel had the upper edge in that trade, I imagine. We'll have
Flash
to
for
see
flash,
how
it
that
looks
goes.
like.
Yeah, I think this was this flash combo. Yeah, the Timbers combo with the Everfrost on top almost gets the kill. Does manage to trade back the flash, but back to the bot lane play. This is kind of what I was talking about with the Nyla. You're kind of just trying to fist fight healing with healing, and I think Swain is, unless you get like heal cut for the Swain, I think the Swain is supposed to win that every time. So, yeah. I wonder if there will be any heal cut built from the side of Midwives. I think there should be some prio on it. I'm curious to see how long it takes for them to get there.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that Annie went for Everfrost. I think that's kind of weird. If you had Ludens there, I think that probably would have been a kill, but
Yeah.
definitely feels like, you know, maybe because you're behind, they feel like they want to have a little more CC, but definitely don't usually see Everfrost on Annie.
Yeah, and it looks like Swain did opt for the Rylai's finish after the Lost Chapter. I think this is a pretty standard Swain setup if you're like playing more bot lane. Swain, the Lost Chapter is good enough as like a component for mana, and then you just finish the Rylai so they can never leave your little circle. And I think it's also really good in Nyla, because if you pop the ulti, she's just never leaving, and you just have to fist fight her, and you win the fist fight, as I said earlier. Nyla did opt for the Collector. I think people say this is her best first item. I have no idea. No one plays this character in my games, so I'll take whoever says that word for it. So
Yeah, I definitely think Dean's build makes a lot of sense once you think about it like that.
yeah, and it looks like a Infernal Dragon picked up for the side of Milky Way. This is 2 dragons for them. It looks like it could be a potential 4 stack on the ocean though. That would be really good for the side of Midwives. It would make you able to do the fist fight thing that I was talking about. If you have Ocean Drake, you just sort of win every fist fight. So it looks like a potential tower dive angle from the side of the UA, but they just cannot finish off the tower in time.
Yeah. You know, maybe if the side of Midwives can kind of bait the Swain ult out and try to disengage with the dashes, maybe you could then win a fight, but when the Swain ult's up,
Joel does hit a combo here, but Stanley does trade 1 for 1. The combo does come out here, and Hong is trying again with the fist fight. This time it is going a little bit better because of the Collector damage, but oh my gosh, the Blitzcrank does just manage to obliterate him. I think did they hold the E for the shield break, or the ulti for the shield break? I have no idea how that played out, but super well played from the side of bot lane to get another kill onto the Nyla here.
Yeah, at least for Midwives, you do pick up the kill onto Stanley finally, but overall,
and you do get
Milky Way's
2 towers for it, I think. Yeah, but they do also trade a couple towers back because Alawi's free hitting the tower. Looks like Cam is going for this though. You are a Maokai solo into the Swain. I think he might just kite you out. But the demonic
That
damage is
damage.
here. Potentially. The sapling?
Oh,
Oh, the Q! Well played from Cam just to hit the Q from range. Never say this champion doesn't take skill. I would never say that, by the way. Pinky promise. Viral does come out and does whiff onto the Maokai, so he does get off scot-free with his kill onto Dean here.
yeah, well done by Cam there.
Yeah.
Alawi's completed that her first mythic
Iceborne
item, so I
Gauntlet.
think now that she has that, it's like the slows are just like permanently on when she's Wing you. So I think now this is where the matchup could maybe swing a little bit in her favor.
Yeah. Looks like. Yeah, Hong. Oh, Stanley does find a really good ulti, but Hong does look for the engage back in, but doesn't have enough damage without the ulti, and does opt to trade back. And it looks like Kathy is the one that's going to build heal cut. Does opt for the Oblivion Orb. That's what it's called. You do have a decent way to proc it with your ulti. You can just throw it onto everyone, and then everyone gets heal cutted for the entire fight. So I think it's not the worst pickup for her. But Putrefier has been like kind of bad on supports, so curious to see how well that goes. The game did kind of slow down a little bit. A lot less action has happened in the last 10 minutes than the first 10 minutes, in my opinion. So I'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, they did change Putrefier a while back, I'm pretty sure. So now the only way that Yumi will be applying it's with her Q or with her ult, I guess.
Ulti.
It's
Yep.
not going to allow your allies to apply it. So definitely,
Yep.
that definitely is a pretty big nerf to that item.
Yeah, it used to just be the best way to get heal cut though, so I don't really blame them. It is like actually tech on like some AP champions that have like good healing and shielding. Like I think Orianna could build it if you really wanted to. I built it on Udyr a lot. Flash W from Cam here, looking for the angle onto Stanley. The ulti coming out for the shockwave, but I think they just have enough damage to kill out Stanley here, and they do manage to pick it up. And then it looks like the rest of the reinforcements have arrived though. Looks like Blake did ulti as well, and Cam is still in this fight, trying desperately to kill someone, and the Nyla is in the middle of 5 people where you kind of want to be. They do manage to pick up the, what's this called? The Alawian response, and now the Tryndamere has arrived just to pick up the rest of the team. And it looks like another kill going over, or another teamfight win for the side of the midwives here. You can really see the power of this Maokai, just able to buy so much time for your teammates to show up, and it looks like they're transitioning straight into the Baron here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty huge, already a 4K gold lead. If they're they managed to pick up the Baron here, they're firmly in control of this. And let's not forget, they won game 1, so Milky Way has to win this game or else we end it right here.
Yeah, also, can we do the LS thing and check the healing reduction on the Oblivion Orb? Did reduce 400 healing in that fight, so you see the huge value you can get from the Oblivion Orb in these team fights. Does opt to just finish the Putrefier straight up. I do kind of like this, honestly, like just completing your items, getting a stronger spike out of it, and just getting more healing reduction is, or getting more stats for it is pretty good. So.
Oh, big hook. Joel just caught on vision there, Mythic with the hook from Fall of War. Pretty impressive they're just going to get a dragon like this after losing the Baron.
Yeah, they do just opt for the third dragon here. This is a soul point threaten as well.
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty unfortunate play. Like, I think Joel just got there a little bit ahead of his team, didn't respect the Blitzcrank, and at that point, not able to contest. But you do still have Baron, so if they can find, maybe break open the actual base here, that'd be pretty big.
Yeah, you're just going to try to fish for these tier 2 towers on the side lanes. They do give like a lot of gold, so I'm curious to see how well it goes. Avery is just choosing to stand in the Alawi and try to fist fight her, but Alawi is strong enough with the ulti that doesn't go super well here. Looks like they currently aren't able to get any towers in response. Kemp did opt to finish the Abyssal Mask instead of his Mythic, so has a lot of MR for the... looks like Hong is looking for a play here though. Ulti coming out from both sides. The Maokai ult is here to try to follow up on top of the Nyla ulti, and they do manage to pick up the Blitzcrank here. still chasing down the Swain, and the Briar ulti does land onto the Annie here, but there's 3. You're ulted into the middle of 3 people, and they do manage to pick up another kill in response. Cam is just trying to stick on top of Stanley, is able to do so, and Dean really isn't able to do much here as the rest of the team catches up, and another kill going over to the side of the Midwives. Looks like Stanley potentially is going down here as well. Another W from Cam. I think he had a lot of high mastery to click W on Maokai in that point in time, so well played to him, I suppose.
4 for 0 is pretty huge. Have the Baron buff. Alawi
Yeah.
might be able to slow it the push down a little bit, but
Yeah, it looks like Joel did opt to just go to the side lane and try to get this top tower. A good
Big
hook from
hook.
Mythic onto the Maokai
Oh!
into tower. They do manage to pick up one. The ulti coming down from the Alawi, and Avery is sort of in the middle of 5 people tanking up the tower, but does just spin away. Kind of a net neutral play at the end, just
Yeah.
because you didn't
You
really
don't
get any
actually-
towers out of that.
yeah, you don't even break the base with Baron. Mythic's hook was huge there. That just got Alawi a 600 gold shutdown on the Maokai.
Yeah,
That's pretty
Hong
big.
does know that they're not knowers. The world's latest Q from Hong, I suppose, and just chooses to walk away from that. Avery still has the Baron buff, so this could at least be the outer first tower, but still not the Baron you really want there. You didn't get a whole lot out of it in terms of like cracking open the base. So another ulti coming out from Alana, but does kind of whiff. So
Yeah. Briar ult's pretty hard to hit, honestly, if you're just dry firing it.
yeah, it's super hard, and it looks like not much else is gonna really happen on the map. The next 2 objectives are 2 minutes away, so they're just gonna try to get CS and scale up a little bit.
Yeah, you know, maybe if you're able to get a couple more items down, the fights start becoming a lot easier.
Yeah. Looks like
Swain's
Cam,
also picked up some grievous wounds as well, so now you're going to be slowing that Neela and Yumi down.
yeah, the Neela and the Maokai are getting reduced healing. He is the best applicator because if you drop the ulti, like everyone's getting grievous wounds, and you can get it for the entirety of the fight. So I do like him picking it up. It looks like Cam is opting for Joksho instead of the Radiant Virtue on the Maokai. This is a little different because most Maokais are opting for the Radiant Virtue setup so you can give your team a little bit of extra healing when you ulti. Joksho makes you way tankier inside the actual team fights if you can like stick around in them for longer. So I'm curious to see how these fights will play out. They are mobilizing the troops to try to collapse on this Nyla, but Cam with the ulti to try to disengage. They are also here. Good fucking 3-man ulti from the side of Hong, but there's just more people here, and they aren't able to get anything. Super good turn from the side of the Milky Way here.
Yeah, I mean, Joel's pushing top, has teleport, kind of chose not to come to this play. And I think it's difficult. I think the reason Midwives was finding so much success was because they were grouping up and kind of just caught spread out there.
Yeah, and it looks like it could be a potential Ocean Soul take for the side of Milky Way here. You never want to give this team Ocean Soul, by the way. Look at their champions.
That's
so much healing.
You have to fight for this Ocean Soul. I think if you get that, you might be up 5k gold, but it's not going to feel like it.
I don't know if Cam will be up in time though. The dragon spawns in 20 seconds and he's only going to be up in 10. Looks like Joel did also opt for the Grievous Wounds. I still think it should be Cam buying the Grievous Wounds in this game. You are a way better applicator than the Annie who has 1 rotation and then it's over.
I really am not in love with this Annie build. At least personally, I really like playing Annie. It's just like a glass cannon. Because it's so hard to engage without your flash anyway, so if you're just going for flash ults, but you've built like straight damage, Luden, Shadow Flame, or something like that, you still have the ability to just completely annihilate a couple members of their team.
Yeah.
Here, it's more of just a little bit of crowd control.
Yeah, and it looks like Cam is going to make it in time. They choose not to start up the dragon. Really good ward does spot out Cam here. And it looks like they're just going to gear up for the 5v5. A good soul pull from the side of the Alawi, but potential 2-man caught on the side of Milky Way on the top side of this fight. He does have the ulti going, but Hong is still alive on the side with the Yumi on top. And it looks like they do drop though, but there is still a dragon fight going on. Alana is getting boxed out by the Maokai here. Does manage to get the kill, and they do pick up the Ocean Dragon, so what a chaotic fight though. Alawi pulling 2 members away, Hong getting 2 in that fight, and then potentially there's still an angle here. A stun coming out from Joel here. Another Everfrost coming out, and stopwatch coming out from Dean. But there's two members here, so looks like another kill onto the Maokai.
Yeah, that fight was pretty awesome. Back and forth plays from both sides. You know, I
Yeah.
thought, but at the end of the day, getting the dragon was what was the most important. We've already said you
Yeah.
cannot give that Team Ocean Soul. So
Yeah, Midwives do manage to eke out the victory a little bit, and getting this dragon is super good for them. It starts giving them a little bit of value. It denies the soul, and also they do manage to get this bot tower as well, so that's super big for them. The fight was superly weirdly sectioned. Blake gets a really good soul pull onto the Nyla, but the Nyla just chooses to straight shotgun the ulti into the Alawi and the
Oriana.
While Maokai and the Tryndamere, I believe, have like Briar and the rest of the team sectioned off, and then Dean tries to get to the fight with the Demonic Ascent still up, and then it just doesn't work out for them because Alana gets killed inside the pit while she's still trying to contest with Cam for the dragon. So
Yeah.
it's just a super weirdly sectioned fight, but it works out on the side of Midwives.
Yeah, I think the fight can go a lot better for Milky Way if you're more grouped up in like a front to back, because you want the Oriana Stanley to be behind Dean, behind the Alawi.
Yeah.
So that way you're not, because I don't think Neela can go past the Swain if his ult's up with Rylai.
Yeah, it's literally impossible. Yeah. Super well played though, I think, from the side of
And
Midwives to
Joel's
figure it
also
out the fight a little
finding
bit.
good stuns, so he is still
Yeah.
getting the value out of the Annie.
Yeah. It looks like it should just be the 5v5 for the Baron here. We'll have to see. Getting this bot tower is a little good. Oh, apparently Blake is bot side. I don't know if they've spotted this out yet, but they will know this now that Blake shows on the wave. He does have TP though, so this could be a bit of a bait from the side of Milky Way to try to see if they'll start the Baron here. Decent pull, just getting poked down. Tryndamere is there to match the Alawi, but keep in mind that Tryndamere doesn't have TP. They have the Ghost, so
Yeah.
Alawi will always have prio into this objective fight. So looks
Yeah, I
like
mean,
Blake is channeling the recall for this as well. So
Yeah, I think that's the right idea. I mean, Avery's 4-0 on the Tryndamere 3 items, but I think you're just kind of seeing the matchup at this point. There's
Yeah.
only so much he can do.
yeah. And with no CC on the Tryndamere, it's like really hard to commit to the Baron because Alawi can TP, he cannot, and he also has no way to cancel the TP. So
True. I mean, at this point, I think they're probably just going to be comfortable. Milky Way is just kind of trying to wait for that soul.
yeah, you can just sit there and constantly force the fights around this role. So we'll have to see how it goes. Cam is looking for these Raptors here. Ulti coming out from Alana does whiff. The Annie is here, does drop the full combo onto the Blitzcrank, and it's a 1-for-0 trade so far. Avery is still looking for the split push angle, but
Yeah.
Cam is pinging the Baron, probably
I think
trying to
that's your
start it.
Baron, yeah. I think they should try for it.
Yeah, they know Alana's bot side as well. Alana shows bot lane while Baron is up, and then Avery is there to keep her distracted as they start the Baron. This could be disastrous for the side of the middle, for the side of Milky Way. Alana has no ulti to try to get back to this fight, so
Yeah,
looks
I
like
think
it should
Mythic
be a
thought
pretty free
they-
Baron.
Yeah, Mythic thought they maybe had caught out Cam, but he didn't realize that Joel was hiding behind the corner with the Annie and
Yeah.
just got blown up.
Yeah, ulti coming out from the side of the Midwives does not hit anyone, but we'll have to see how it goes. It looks like another spam dragon ping from the side of Cam. Yeah, the dragon is the prio here. Does opt for this cheap super like damage tank build. This is what I like to call it if you go Abyssal Mask, Sunfire, Jaksha. This is sort of like super cheap tank items that do a lot of damage actually if you can sustain in these fights. Whereas a more utility build would be like Frozen Heart and other more defensive items. So he's trying to be like a tank that can kind of carry through damage. So I do kind of like that from him. It still has a lot of utility with the ulti, just super value in like long team fights. So. And it looks like another soul pull from Blake here onto the Cam here. An ulti coming out.
Joel's
from
got a big
Cam.
flank.
Oh, does fan the flank onto Stanley and does get the 1-for-1. You always take that as the Annie. I think you're a little more useless than the Ori in these fights, and getting the value is super good.
Oh,
Blake is in the middle of 5 people with the tentacle slamming down with the Swain ulti on top, and it's a 3. 3 for 4 here. Cam is the only one that
Wow.
lives, and or 2 for 4 here. Cam is still up. There is no smite on the side of the red, or on the side of the Milky Way, so there could be a steal angle. Does look for Mythic here on the
Oh!
fight. Does manage to get one. This is the combat tank stats that I was talking about. Does manage to pick up Dean here potentially, but Blake does get the slam down, and this is an Ocean Soul for the side of the Milky Way here.
Wow, that fight started so good for Midwives. Joel actually had such a good flank there. Completely
Yeah.
surprised Stanley, one-shot him, but it was Mythic's hook that pulled him like max range and just kind of forced Midwives to commit at that moment once that hook
Yeah.
came through. If he'd been able to, kind of dodge that hook and then kind of wait for a second rotation of spells, I think that could have looked a little bit different.
Yeah, I do think also Midwives chose to engage there as Joel was getting hooked. I think if you're the side of Midwives, you can just take the 1-for-1 on Stanley
Yeah,
and try to look for a bit of a better fight angle, but they chose to commit all their resources there and got swiftly punished by the Alawi ulti on top of the Ori ulti. So super well played from Milky Way.
Yeah, you can't go in on the Swain and the Alawi at melee range. Like, that's just... And that's
Yeah.
difficult. That's a struggle with this comp because Neela's not a long-range ADC. She plays kind of like a melee character. You have to get right up in there on top of them. When your highest
Yeah.
range champion's the Annie, it's kind of difficult into that team comp.
Yeah. I'll have to see how they choose to play out these next couple fights. I will say Ocean Soul is kind of disastrous, but the side of Midwives has already kind of prepared for it, and Hong getting caught out once again here, but does manage to pick up 1-for-1 onto the support. Joel is looking for the Swain here, does manage to pick him up in a 1-for-1 again, and it looks like so far it's 2-for-2 ADC mid for ADC support, and it looks like another kill coming out for Avery here. Does manage to pick up Alana, but once again his ulti is not clicked, and he does die to the Alawi here. 3-for-3 in this fight. Top mid and ADC for Midwives for jungle, ADC, and support on the side of Milky Way.
Yeah, I mean, Milky Way only down 6k gold now. They were down 8k earlier, but now that Ocean Soul's come through, they're finding a way to win these fights and making it look like a realistic opportunity that they could win this game and send us to a game 3.
Yeah, I think Midwives, the Ocean Soul does have a lot of value, but if you can stall out the game for Elder Dragon, there's still like a potential angle for you to get back into this game. Healing does not matter if you die at 15% HP, like...
Definitely. Yeah, when you have champions that do so much burst, like the Annie and even like the Neela. That's definitely a wing condition now.
Yeah, if we could get a previous wounds check, I am curious to see how much the Yuumi healing has reduced. Yeah, almost 4k. Like, you're getting so much value out of this healing reduction versus this comp. I really like this itemization setup for the side of the Midwives. So I think Joel also has a pretty good number on his. I think it did actually allow him to eke out the 1v1 versus Dean on that side. So I really like the itemization in this game so far.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty good.
Wait, Dean, how much is yours reduced? I'm curious. Show me the Oblivion Orb, sir.
I think it was a lie. He showed it.
He showed Joel's Morello, not his. It's in Twitch. I don't have the stream open.
As we wait on that, I'll say Avery went for the 4th item, Hullbreaker, which kind of tells me they've kind of decided, okay, I don't know if teamfight is going to be the way we win at this point. Gonna try to see if that Hullbreaker could make the difference in the Alawi 1v1.
Yeah, just trying to force the.
Oh, Joel with the flank.
Yeah, potential angle here. The Swain ulti coming out though. The ulti coming out from the Nyla, but the shockwave coming out from Stanley, and this fight is just all over the place. They're just so tanky, and the Alawi is almost here. Does manage to pick up 2, but Dean does go down here, but Stanley and the Alawi are still up, and not really much you can do. A 3-for-2. Avery does try to go to pick up Kathy here, but just another kill going over, and you're seeing the Ocean Soul value here. Like, they're just getting out sustained in these fist fights. So
yeah, Joel found a nice play onto Stanley again, but didn't have the damage this time to completely kill him. And it's just, once again, it wasn't everybody going in right at the exact same moment. It was a little bit delayed, and then if you're not all bursting the same target, the healing, just like you're saying, becomes too much.
Yeah.
And now that they're grabbing this Baron, I mean, Milky Way's definitely in control of this game, which is pretty impressive considering how far down they were earlier.
Yeah, a super good job of them to wrestle control of this game back. And yeah. But like there's like not much you can really do with the Ori and the Swain just sort of balling up, and you have to like kind of go in on the enemy team. So
Yeah,
it's super
tough.
hard for the Nyla to be able to play out these games. A lot of good anti-engage from the side of Milky Way. So I do kind of like that their draft setup was this super anti-engage comp versus the Nyla.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm not really sure what your game plan needs to be. Maybe you can find a pick with Annie again if like somebody kind of is caught off on their own, but as long
Yeah.
as Milky Way keeps sticking together, I just think it's really difficult.
Yeah, ulti coming out from Cam here, potential angle. TP from the Alawi here, the ulti comes out. Stanley finds a shockwave, but Hong is trying to get on top of the Orianna. Does manage to drop him super low. They do go down. The Alawi is in the middle of 4 people, but Avery is in the middle of them all with all this damage, but they are living for so long, but the Swain is getting so much value out of this demonic ascent. And they need to really disengage, but I don't know if Cam can out-sustain this. The Maokai does have a lot of healing, but Swain does heal a little bit better than him, I believe. This is a really funny...
It's just incredible. This is insane.
Ocean Soul versus One Tree. Who shall win? Find out in the next episode.
I mean, even when the whole team was hitting him, there's just not able
Yeah.
to go down.
And then there was Dean, and it looks like he is just going to start the Ocean Soul. Apparently, Swain got up to 10k healing in the time all those fights are happening. Jesus Christ.
And yeah, that's just gonna be an Elder Dragon. That's pretty huge. Looks like most of his teammates, if not all of them, will be able to respawn before it gets finished as well.
Yeah. Oh my lord. Should be a pretty free Elder Drake for their team. And now from Midwise, I'm kind of curious to see if they can even battle back versus this comp. Playing out these Ocean Soul fights is so hard.
Yeah, I think
versus
Elder
their team.
Dragon was their one window. At this point, I don't really see how. I mean, they do still have the gold lead, but it doesn't feel like it. And now that the other team has Elder Dragon, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
You look like unscratched furniture.
Kathy's waiting for an item and is spamming dance and base. And it looks like potential another fight is gearing up. They're definitely going to try to end with this Elder Drake, honestly. If Midwives can try to stall out this game, maybe after the Elder Dragon wears off, you can try for a fight, and then for Ray, you can get the next Elder Dragon. That's going to take forever, though. You have to live for like 5 minutes versus this comp that is definitely going to try to end the game here.
Yeah. I think all it's gonna take is like one hook or one Swain pull here, and the game will pretty much end.
Yeah, looks like they are opting to just give the inhib here. They need a way to cut this wave off, and another soul pull coming out from the Alawi here, potentially able to kill. Joel does drop a pretty good ulti, does drop them to like half HP. Alana is in the middle of 5 people, is getting CC'd up. The shockwave coming out, but they all managed to live, and it's a 1-for-0 trade onto the Briar here.
Yeah, they're actually managing to defend right now, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. We'll have to see how
And
this
Dean doesn't have
goes.
ult right now, so this is
Yeah,
definitely
they're
their best
looking for the
chance to
fight now. Yeah, the Alawi ult does come out. They're attempting to ulti execute the Tryndamere, but it isn't going through. But Blake is able to live for so long. Hong is still alive though, and so is Cam. So there still is an angle. Stanley is looking for the fight, but they do manage to pick up the Alawi here, and Stanley is the last man standing. Still has the Elder Dragon, so definitely can still win this out. Look at the damage from the Orianna abilities. The ulti coming out from Cam here. He's still fishing for this play. The root does come out. Stanley is still trying. He's still going for it. Has so much healing.
Oh,
Does dodge
maybe he
the shockwave
does!
from Cam. The phase rush movement speed, baby. And it looks like Stanley is going to go down. The hourglass coming out. I'm not sure if it's enough, though. The CC coming out from Cam. And super good dodge for the Maokai, bro. The phase rush. Tell me this champion doesn't take skill, bro. Come on.
That was impressive by Cam. I mean, impressive by Midwives. They just won a 5v5, completely down Elder Dragon, down Ocean Soul.
They
That
are
was
so
impressive.
sitting up in their gamer chairs. Yeah, super well played from the side of Midwives. Now we're gonna have to see if they are able to take the Baron or take the Elder on the next spawn, or the Baron. Honestly, Baron is also an objective that's coming up soon, so we'll have to see if they're able to fist fight for it. Super well played from them. Super good pick from Midwives. A lot of ulting in at a bit of an opportune time, potentially costing them the game. Briar ult is kind of like a weird ability. You can cancel it mid cast if you press E, I'm pretty sure, or like you can cancel the ulti if you just press E instead of like taking the ulti. So
Oh, I thought you had to take it, but once you're there,
no, you can cancel it. I'm pretty sure with the E before it
I
finishes.
don't think you can. I think if it hits, you're going.
Wait, really? I could have sworn you could cancel it. I have no idea.
I've never
but
seen it if you can, I guess.
I'll double check. if
Somebody
Zach
will
is still
let
there
us
on.
know.
Someone fact check me on that. If I'm wrong, so be it. But yeah, the next fight is gonna be this Baron fight. Not a whole lot of vision for the side of Midwives. They are gonna have to face check a little bit blind into the Blitzcrank. A potential hook angle onto Hog here. Oh my gosh, the hook hits, and it looks like he's just gonna get obliterated. Kathy does throw out the ulti, but Cam does manage to, they do try to get the W out, and it looks like this could just be an end for the side of Milky Way here. Super good pick from the side of the Blitzcrank here. Hong, what are you doing, bro? You know this is a Blitzcrank game. Why are you face checking as the ADC, bro? Come on, man.
Tough way to see a really great game end, but
yeah, Tindamir does have to base here, and it looks like they are going to try to fight it out here as Cam. This Maokai champion is a little tanky. Avery is here as well, though, potentially able to clutch it out here. Not able to get another kill, and it looks like this should just be going to game 3 here.
wow.
Hong
41-41 in the end. That was
what an insane game so far. A little bit of a reportable face check from Hong, but I guess, bro.
But I mean, Milky Way was still at a gold deficit when they won that game. Like,
okay, Dina's telling me you do have to take the ulti, so I'm just lying through my fucking teeth, I suppose. My bad, team.
Hey, don't worry, community. I will check him when he lies. But game 3 and another fearless game. So all these picks that we just saw pop off, you can't play them again. Like,
yeah,
what
we're
are we
going deep
for?
into the champion pools now. I'm gonna go get some water. I will be right back. My throat is dying.
Go for it. At this point, I think all those champions to watch are going to be unavailable. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what a few of the players go for. I didn't hate or love the Annie for Joel. I thought he had a pretty decent game on it. The matchup's just super hard in Orianna, and Stanley was playing super well early. So I'm curious to see what he'll go for now. He's having to pull out another new champion. Mythic had a pretty good performance on the Blitzcrank, had some really nice hooks at the end, but that's another engaged champion that you can't pick now, so I'm curious what he'd go for again. Top lane, I don't really know what to expect up there. Both those guys do have such deep champion pools. And then Alana, I think it's exciting once again to see, what is she going to go for? Every game after the Sejuani, we weren't really sure what she'd pick. She was gone for Lilia, she's gone for Briar. Could be another carry, could go back to another tank, so I'm really excited to see that as well. We'll give it a minute while Mason waits to get back, and then we'll get the start of game 3, the draft and whatnot.
All right, we are back for game 3 of Midwives versus the Milky Way. I'm super excited to see what crops up in this here game.
Team matchup again. I think this makes sense. I mean, I think whichever player can get the edge gives a lot for the team, because when Milky Way wins, it's usually a big performance by Blake.
Yeah. I think the Alawi wasn't quite as impactful as some of the other champions that Blake has picked in the past. It still did well, don't get me wrong, but I think in that game it was mostly off the back of the Swain and the Orianna finding really good combos. So
Yeah, I think part of the reason Swain was getting to live so long was how much time it was taking to even just kill Alawi.
yeah, I
But
do agree with that.
For this key matchup, Dean had a great performance on the Swain, but can't pull that out again. So now are you forced to go back more for a traditional ADC on ADC matchup? What's he gonna go for? Hong's pushed another pick down his pool, but some of those ones you had named, still I don't think we've seen yet. So he still has some pretty good picks for himself that are available.
I think the Zeri and the Ashe are still up. The Twitch is also still up. I did like his Nyla performance overall, but I think that I think like you saw in that last fight where he just got obliterated by Mythic Blitzcrank, the hook, the face check into the bush. That champion just you have to play like an engage style on that character, and I think him being primary engage is not necessary on his team in the slightest. Like, I think Cam was doing a phenomenal job of peeling people off of him and like playing like engage style on the Maokai. And I really just think you can play these backline ADCs and you can just sit there, farm CS, do the thing that you're really good at for a player like Hong, and just play 1v9 ADCs that require maybe just a little bit of setup. So
one thing, the one last thing I want to talk about before we kind of get into the draft is also like what Cam's strategy might need to be this game. I think he had a really good performance on both the carry in game 1 and the tank in game 2. But I kind of want to see him go back to a carry in game 3, especially because when you consider that Joel's kind of getting pushed further down his pool, I think he's showing that like with the Annie, with how he built last game, he wants to play more of a supportive style at this point. So I think having Cam then on the carry champion makes a little bit more sense for me.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think his carries have always been super phenomenal. Champions like I think he's played a fair amount of the Hecarim, the Ekka. Potential other picks that I think he could fall back to for like a more carry style would be stuff like the Wukong. This champion does kind of do a bit of both. It is like a good setup champion, but I think Wukong is also like a phenomenal carry champion. Diana, Diana historically has been super good and also does sort of like that unique team fight flex where you can be like a carry champion but also really impact team fights. So I think he should look to like a couple of those champions that still haven't been contested actually.
I'd love the Diana. I'd love to see the Diana of the ones you named, because I think we've seen a lot of strong performances on that champion from the season for a lot of different players.
I would tend to agree. I know people.
Oh, there we go. Look what he picked.
And it looks.
Or no, it's not. That's the other team.
No, it's Alana's pick on the Diana.
Wow.
All right, and so if we want to talk about draft a little bit, Yasuo, Twitch, and Sivir, they are just trying to pinch down Hong's champion pool as much as possible, like we were talking about. Avery's Yasuo is pretty fearsome, so I do like banning that away. And then the Milio, Aesol, and the Gwen. I think Aesol is like a decent ban into like a lot of Joel's champions. Or Aesol is like a decent control mage ban versus Joel. I don't know if he actually plays it, but just to take it off the table is okay.
I think
no, that's in the Stanley. Yeah, I'm stupid. Stanley has played a lot of the Aesol, and his Aesol is very good. And also the Gwen. I think his Gwen is pretty good. So
yeah, and I think it makes sense because they probably knew what they were going to pick for Joel, so I think you're banning Aesol particularly because you wanted Veigar.
Yeah,
and then after we see those, nothing really else jumps out to me on the bans too much. But then you see the Diana come through first pick for Milky Way. I think it's probably partly a denial to Cam, but that's also just a really aggressive pick for Alana just to take that early in the draft.
Yeah, and the midwives going to the Janna. I think Kathy has played a fair amount of Janna, and the champion is pretty good right now. And the Veigar kind of falling down Joel's totem pole of champions. I don't think he's played a whole bunch of Veigar. I don't know if he's ever played a game of Veigar in the series. And it looks like they respond with the Renata and the Kassadin. I'm pretty sure Kassadin just shits all over Veigar, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's a really good matchup for Kassadin, I would say. And, that's one of the benefits we've seen from Stanley. He kind of expanded his champion pool this season and has been able to find some of these really aggressive counter picks. But I want to draw more attention to Mythic going on to Renata. That's exciting. Yeah. It's not one of his traditional engaged champions. I'm not sure if I've seen him play Renata in the server yet. He might have, but I haven't seen it. And so I'm kind of excited for that.
Yeah, I think Renata is a really good champion, though. It's been played a lot I think Jacob was mostly the one playing it on his team. It has a lot of good pairings, so I'm excited to see him finally whipping it out. And also, Hong on the Kai'Sa. We haven't seen a whole bunch of Kai'Sa. This champion used to be super fucking popular. Has kind of fallen off more in recent days.
Yeah, I do like it though for a player like Hong who has been
Yeah.
so mechanical, has been so aggressive. It is a pretty exciting pick for him.
Yeah. And if we want to get into the R2 bans, looks like the Ashe and the Kalista are finally being taken off the table. Dean is dropping pretty low on the champions that are more utility centric. And then also the Wukong and the Bel'Veth fan. I do like both of these. These are sort of like the tanky teamfight carries that I was talking about. Bel'Veth is a little bit worse at it than Wukong, I think, but still a really solid ban. I think Gam's Bel'Veth is pretty good. And he falls back to the Viego. Now, I am of the opinion this Viego champion is a little dog shit right now. So I'm surprised Cam is really willing to pick it in the Fearless draft. I think I would have preferred like a earlier jungle pick from him. I think maybe taking like the Jarvan or something is a little bit better. Jarvan is a really good champion right now. I'm surprised there was no Jarvan pick at all in this series.
True.
Champion is really good. Had a lot of synergies, even with like the Veigar, because you can sort of just hold someone in the cage and then put the cage around them, kind of thing, double cage. And also, you can play really well with the Kai'Sa if you get the knockup and stuff with another engage. So I'm surprised he went to the Viego, but Viego is still like a decent champion. I think the matchup into Diana is pretty good for Viego because you can kind of box her out in the 1v1. And if you get the Diana, you can sort of like start action hopping to people with your cute E combo and then just like do the ulti, all the funny Viego stuff. But Dean also going to the Samira. I think he's played a decent amount of Samira. He loves playing this champion. I'm not quite sure how the lane is with Renata. It doesn't seem too bad, but it's not super terrible. It's like a decent pairing for them.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good here. And then
Yeah.
the Nasus again. We saw Blake do that annoying like poke Max Wither setup with some AP
Yeah.
and then win the tank. Like I don't know if he'll do that again, but he might. So, but then Avery does get to counterpick it and chooses the Renekton, the
Yeah,
Sharima brothers.
Yeah, there is actually going to be a new lore event for these two in the next upcoming season, which is going to be pretty hype. Or like those little quests that come up.
Yeah, like Rengar and Kha'Zix.
Yeah. Apparently, there's going to be one for those two, which is pretty hype.
Cool. Yeah.
Renekton, I think, is a bit better in lane versus the Nasus, but Nasus obviously outscales, blah blah blah.
But Avery's Darius wasn't available at this point, was it?
It might be. I have no idea.
I don't know if that would have been a good pick into the Nasus, but that I'm surprised that pick didn't get through, or if it did get through, it went through the all 3 games.
Dean is saying the Darius was up the entire time, so I am surprised he opted into it.
The first timing it as well. That's kind of exciting to see a new pick for Avery because he has shown a lot of picks and usually performs pretty well on them. So I'm excited to see the Renekton.
Dean is 2-5 on the Samira. Has not performed on this champion in the past. We'll have to see if it's going to be any different. And Joel has actually played the Veigar once before. I did not know that.
Yeah, but
Stanley is still a little newer to the Kassadin. It is a more recent pickup, but I think it has been pretty good for him. So we'll have to see. I'm being told these Blake stats are wrong for Nasus.
Yeah, he did win one game.
So he's currently is 1-1. This is Cam's first time on the Viego. To me, that is a little worrisome. This Viego champion, in my opinion, is kind of hard. So I'll have to see how he performs on it. Alana is first timing the Diana as well. I think this champion is pretty easy to execute. Hong has performed historically on the Kai'Sa 4-2 so far. Kathy has not quite performed on the Janna with the 0-2 so far, but I think the champ's good enough that it might compensate for that. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, Janna has been buffed pretty recently. First time for Mythic on the Renata, that's pretty exciting. And you say Diana's not too complicated, but I think if you're not super comfortable on it, it can be difficult to know when you should be going in, and she's not a champion that really has an easy way to get out.
That is true. You are sort of an all-in kind of champion. But I think in terms of like jungle Diana, there are like a couple different build paths that you can mitigate how hard it is to play. For example, there is like the Tank Joksho Demonic Embrace Diana setup, which is fairly good and makes the champion super easy to pilot, in my opinion. Like, it removes like a lot of the decision making that you need with like Assassin Diana, and just you play for like a big wombo combo and hope your team follows up. So
Makes sense.
that is my opinion on the champion. If we want to move on into the games, question mark. Yeah. Talk about season records if we want. In terms of champ matchups, Viego has won this historically. That's really funny. I feel like that's wrong because I think no, it probably isn't. But Viego has won this matchup before. Renekton and Nasus, not a
How
whole
have
lot
we
of
never
data.
seen that? I mean, I guess people probably don't play Nasus that much in the server, but I feel like
Yeah.
that's a pretty common matchup.
Yeah, apparently Kaisa shits on Samira historically, but that's one game, so I don't really know if that means anything. A lot of unknowns in this.
Yeah, Renata Janna's pretty unknown. Typically, you see Renata as like a counter pick into engage comps,
Yeah,
and so Janna's not normally where you'd be picking it.
Hmm.
But I do think Renata still has value in this game because you have a lot of low range carries with Renekton, Viego, and even Kai'Sa to an extent.
yeah, and then yeah, not really a whole lot else we really need to talk about.
We're ready for the final game of the Bilgewater Brawl, Game 3,
Oh.
Game 5 between these teams. Let's not forget
Yeah.
they're 2-2 throughout the tournament, so I think it's pretty fair to say these are definitely the two best teams in the tournament. And it's pretty
Yeah.
exciting to see who's going to take away the final game.
Yeah, and this is the correct Blake stats. 1-1 on the Nasus. Pretty good KD on this champion. So excited to see how this game shakes out for him and his KD overall. I think we'll be able to tell which style of Nasus he's going to go for based on Rin. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that. And it is going to be the Ares setup once again. So it is another poke setup.
I already feel bad for Avery. That's but you know, maybe we can see a better strategy to punish it, because I think part of the problem last time was it was kind of left on an island. You know, maybe if you can send Viego up there early, you have the Renekton stun. Renekton has better gank setup than something like the Gwen did that we saw yesterday.
Yep,
So, you know, maybe
sure.
there's an opportunity to punish it.
I would tend to agree. I am curious to see what kind of build Hong whips out for the Kaisa. You have a lot of build variety on this character, so I'm curious to see what happens here. Stanley opting for the electrocute onto the acid in here, looking for more of an assassination at 6 playstyle, which I think is way better for him overall. You do want to try to punish this Vigar as early as possible, and you can start doing that at
Definitely.
level 6 with the electrocute.
Yeah, the nice thing about getting such a good matchup for Cassidy is he's not forced to take the super safe fleet footwork. Like, honestly, I think I think he could have got away with not even doing D shield this game, like
Yeah.
taking more aggressive. Like, if you're gonna go electrocute, I'd like to see like a dark seal even, or Doran's ring or something.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that a lot. I was gonna point that out next, actually. So huge for us. Same brain length or whatever, you know.
But, sir.
And it looks like both junglers are just gonna, or no, Cam's gonna start red side while Alana's gonna start bot side. So I want to see some more aggressive invades, like the first invade he did versus the Lilia. So I'm curious to see. Dean said you wait, hold on. We can't see that, but funny message TM. Dean says he'll FF IRL if he gets offensive. Can you guys
Oh,
interesting message from Blake. Looks like it is just gonna be the red side start from Cam. Could be a potential level 2 gank Viego if you choose to skill W level 2. Can kind of walk into this lane and potentially gank Blake early. So curious to see what he chooses to do into that.
yeah, definitely
Wonder
has
if that's on
options
his radar.
there.
Wonder if that's on his radar at all. Looks like he's just choosing to path down into Raptors though. So
Do you think this is a game where Alana should just be powering to 6 as quick as possible on the Diana?
yes, absolutely. There is no universe where you're locking in Diana and you look for anything other than full clearing your jungle and trying to get to level 6. In my opinion, that champion isn't super great at playing like early skirmishes unless you like have like a really good setup from your team, and I think you're just powering to 6 with the comp that you've drafted. You have Nasus, who's kind of weak early. You have Cassidy, who's kind of weak early. You just power to 6 and try to play for a bot lane level 6 play, in my opinion. So
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of scaling in the solo lanes here for the side of Milky Way.
yeah, and Chem is pathing into Alana's red side here. he should have spotted out that she started this side, and looks like he's just going
Yeah.
to get vision onto her camps over here, potentially looking for a bot gank, potentially?
Yes,
Well, a
well,
lot of it's
Stanley's doing a really good job of hovering the correct side of the lane, so it's not
yeah,
giving any opportunity for Cam to find a gank there.
yeah. It looks like he is just going for the bot lane play like I was talking about. We're gonna see it here. W coming out and a flash coming out from Dean immediately. He is just gonna try to impact the map on this Viego. Try to get as much early pressure as he can. Alana did skip a camp to try to get to this river as fast as possible on the Diana, so and it looks like she could be looking for an invade here. Cage coming out from the Veigar. And Cam is here for the gank once again. Another flash coming out. Does manage to hit the W onto the Viego. Does manage to get the kill, and the soul does go down. Alana is here trying to kill Joel, but Joel just flashes away. Super good first blood for Cam here. Trying to play this more aggressive style like I was talking about, and does manage to get a kill in response.
Yeah, it's super big finding that early kill onto Kastner because, once he gets access to his ultimate, he just becomes super hard to gank, so that's always what you want to try to do, and yeah, I think Stanley I think he had Diana near, so he felt safer than he actually was and just kind of got caught out there.
Yeah. Like, Cam is just going to go back to his blue side, try to pick up these camps. Looks like Avery is just taking these huge chunks out of Blake's health bar with Renekton combos. This champion's super annoying to play versus, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely able to survive the poke pretty well for now. I think it gets difficult once that AP starts coming through, but for right now, doing a pretty good job in this matchup. I'd also like to see Viego go top at some point. You cannot just let the Nasus get freely to those items.
Yeah, and it looks like I had something to say. Anyways, Cam does just manage to get his blue side here. Diana does manage to, or doesn't get double crab, but finishing off his blue side with his skill, it should be pretty easy to get a free base off here. Yeah, Diana did opt for the sword shoes first item. I do actually kind of like the setup on Diana. Like, I like getting shoes early. It does boost your clear by a decent amount because of the magic pen, and also like helps you get to camps faster. So it like improves like your move speed as well. So I do like that setup. Cam does opt for the Noon Quiver for the Kraken Slayer setup. I think it's a bit of a toss up between Bork and Kraken Slayer for Viego players. I've seen a couple different opinions on it. I think I've fallen more on the Bork side of things because I like the sustain that the item gives you. It gives you better fighting, like long fights rather than Kraken Slayer, which is like 3 hits. Because the lifesteal on Bork, it is like a little more expensive, but I think if you're playing Viego, you are trying to play as like a solo carry kind of champion, so you should try to maximize your DPS. But
Makes sense.
Kraken Slayer is not too bad either.
I'm curious what Mythic Joel will go for. I think Veigar oftentimes will go for the Everfrost, but definitely has options.
Yeah, Diana looking for a gank here, does hit the Q, but chooses not to go in on it, recognizing that the angle isn't super great for the Diana play. Cam noticing that and just walks straight into her jungle looking for camps here. Does manage to find 2 camps potentially, and you love to see that as a Viego player. Getting off this super good invade, getting some camp tempo like I was talking about. Cam has been utilizing his jungle knowledge over Diana here, and it is paying off a little bit. Diana is going to start the dragon here though, with the brow that they have. Or is starting the dragon, but bot side is going to check here and does spot out the dragon and does manage to stop it in time. Cam's looking for another play onto Stanley here. Looks like Stanley just action hops away though with the ulti, so no
It's
real
hard
play
to
here.
pull off the gank from now on.
Yeah,
Aston should never really get stunned by the Veigar cage either, because he can always just hop out of it.
yeah, and it looks like not a whole lot of action is gonna happen on the map now. There is a pink ward on the dragon, so if they do try to cheese start it again, like Alana was doing, then it should be spotted by the side of the midwives. So
Yeah, pretty uneven CS in the lanes overall, but I really still maybe Viego's top side now. He could do something top, but I'm worried how that matchup's gonna start going if you don't
Yeah,
get something bigger than a 5 farm lead.
yeah, and it's like a time on the clock kind of favors the side of Milky Way, because if you play to scale, like you have Nasus, you have Cassidon, and it looks like Cam is going for the play here. Doesn't manage to hit the W. Blake throwing up the thumbs up as he walks away from the gank. Looks like he is just gonna try to start the Herald potentially with the Rift Herald Prow. Looks like a potential play onto Kathy here. The slow coming out from the Renata, and the ulti coming out from Dean does manage to pick one up here. Hong is kiting for his life. Does ulti to the side to try to live here, and does manage to live on one. Super good kill from Dean. Super good ulti to get the kill.
Yeah, that was nice. Hong did manage to live barely because Alana's not quite 6 yet. Once the Diana gets that ultimate, it's a little bit easier to make the play.
Yeah.
But what happened top lane? I mean,
Blake
we
is
were
just
talking about
throwing
it. Now it's just now it's swung a little bit.
Yeah, that's just sort of what happens when you play the AP Nasus. You still kind of get like the Q scaling. If you like get a decent amount of stacks on it, Stanley is just gonna start R'ing into the Veigar, looking for these more aggressive trades. So
I think Avery's definitely probably wishing they had used one of those bans on that at this point in one of the 3 games, just because, man, I don't know if there's a more annoying thing to play against in top lane that I've seen this tournament.
yeah, I think the Darius was also up. I'm surprised he didn't opt for that instead of
Yeah,
Diana here.
because then you have access to Ghost, you have access to just kind of force onto the Nasus a little bit easier.
Yeah,
But I mean, I don't know, with this E-spam playstyle, can anyone go on him? Like, he just plays at such range.
yeah, I think he could honestly. If you can like ghost in and hit the hook, like you probably win even in the Spirit Fire. Like, not
Yeah.
entirely sure though.
Yeah, so I wouldn't have hated to see that pick, because I mean, that is just one of his
Yeah.
best picks, if not his best pick. But
Yeah, it
still,
looks like
still could find something with the Renekton if they can kind of group up. Oh, here we go.
Cam is looking for another play, but Lana has started the dragon here, so I don't think he minds just wasting Cam's time here. Yeah.
Doesn't even have to pop Ghost, just walks it out.
Yeah, and Midwise really hates this neutral game state that's really coming out from the side of Milky Way. You cannot play this slow into a Cassidon or a Nasus comp, so
Yeah, you have the Veigar, but I mean, eventually Cassin will just kill the Veigar if he's ever alone.
yeah, and it looks like Diana is pathing bot lane here. Cam does have the read on the play and is going to try to counter it here. Could be a potential angle here. But nothing really happening here. Looks like Dean is going to try to ego Cam here a little bit, but nothing really happening on the map right now.
Definitely a slower start to game 3. You know, both teams, this is it. Kind of trying to be very smart about when they go. And like you said, both teams have a little bit of the time bomb side on their effect. Like, they can just kind of wait it out.
Yeah. I think that there's just more time bombs on the side of Milky Way, right? Like you have the
For
Nasus,
sure.
you have the Cassidon. Even Samira honestly isn't too bad late game. Like, looks like Cam is just gonna sit here and try to box Alana. The ulti coming out for the King, and does manage to pick up the Diana here. And it looks like he is just gonna try to get away here. And Stanley it does get a little lost in the sauce. The tornado coming out from the Janna, and they just walk away. The hostile takeover does hit onto Kathy in a really good angle for Dean here, and they do manage to pick up one back. Kill onto the Cassidon. You always love to see those early game.
Big ult by Mythic there.
Yeah, he did opt for the crown onto the Veigar to potentially slow down the Cassidon kill angle and try to hit more spells. So you can get the ulti. The ulti coming out, and the flash trade in response doesn't manage to kill, but does a decent amount of damage and forces Stanley to back after just using the TP. So
Yeah.
but still, once again, all of this gold is onto the Viego, so a lot of pressure on Cam's shoulders to try to really snowball this game in his favor.
Yeah, Stanley just grabbed Rod of Ages, so 12 minutes for Rod, not too bad. He's been stacking up pretty fast.
Yeah, and it looks like Herald is dropped, so the Viego does get first tower in the mid lane with the Veigar, so you do get like gold kind of where you want it in your big late game bomb, so probably pretty good for him. He does manage to get the Kraken Slayer and the Merc Dreads. Sheen is well coming out from the Viego, probably opting for this 5-4 setup. This is like a really good DPS build for Viego, so I'm curious to see
Yeah.
how well Cam is able to pilot it.
Storm Razor for the Kaisa for Hong. I think that's pretty standard.
Yeah. I think Storm Razor also flexes into like a couple different builds. You can still go like Nashor's Tooth with the setup. You go Rage Blade still. You can still go like Navori if you want to go AD. So I'm curious to see which build still comes out here. Yeah, not really a whole lot else going on. Avery is opting for the Borg setup on the Renekton, trying to kill out this tanky Nasus. Nasus does have the Everfrost completed, so it's really hard to engage on him with the with the Renekton setup. Looks like Cam is looking for another setup or another play here onto the Cassidy. Avery does manage to get the double dash and stun coming out. The Everfrost coming down, and Blake is just trading back with the Everfrost. This is a really funny top lane matchup to watch. The E damage is just so big here. Holy moly.
Yeah, can we see like how many stacks he's got? Is he put any points in queue other than the one?
I
Like,
think
I
Dean
assume he
is
maxed out
currently not
E.
at the PC, but yeah, I
Oh,
assume he maxed it out as well. And it looks like Hong is dodging out. Alana is still down here. The ulti, the hostile takeover coming out. The Janet Tornado to cancel the dash, and the ulti does manage to connect. The flash from Dean and the good ulti from Kathy to disengage this play. And now Viego is here on the turn potentially. He does see that the Samira does have the ulti, the Inferno trigger? Yeah, that's what it's called. Does have it fully stacked, so he chooses not to go for it. And no play here on the side of bot lane. Looked like there was a setup for it, but super good disengage from Kathy with the ulti to really stop the play from accomplishing anything.
Really good ult by Janna there. Avery does complete the Blade of the Ruin King, so we'll have to see if that helps him at all.
Oh, good hook from Mythic, and Hong might be caught out here. Does manage to bait it for the Viego. The flash coming out, but Alana just walks mid lane and he's into the cage, but still has enough damage. And Stanley does pick up another kill for the side of the Milky Way. And you really hate to see that. Stanley is starting to get so fucking strong onto the Cassidy here.
Yeah, Cassidy getting pretty fed pretty early in the game. It's a pretty good start for him. And, once they can get the game into the mid game and he can start side laning, then it gets really oppressive for the Veigar because you can't really walk up at all once you don't have the safety of a turret.
Yeah, and it looks like the dragon is going to go the way of midwives here. They did get the first Cloud Dragon, but now Cam is going to pick up the Infernal Dragon. You do kind of want these Infernal Dragons if you're midwives, just to get a little more damage onto your carries. And it looks like it's going to be another Ocean Soul for the side for both teams here. So I have to see who can pick up the Soul. Soul is pretty good. Nasus with Ocean Soul, Diana with Ocean Soul, pretty good. Renekton and Viego with Ocean Soul is pretty spooky. Looks like Alana is just going for the full AP setup. She is not a cringe Nene baby that plays tank Diana, so the Nasus is currently at 171 stacks according to Mr. Dean Jones, which is still not bad for AP EMAX.
Joel's looking for a
Nasus,
dive.
Yeah, Joel's looking for a play here. Cage coming out. Does lock up Mythic here, and the kill going over to Hong. He does get stunned up here, but Stanley here with the great ultimate, the Rift Walk into the team, and does manage to pick up one back, 1-for-1 onto this Cassidy here. Is 3-1 on this Cassidy, and really looking to accelerate his gold lead here. Cam is looking for the invade on Alana. Alana does hit the ulti here, but I'm pretty sure Viego wins this just pure stat check with the Kraken Slayer. Does whiff the W, but does get the ulti off, and Cam does give the kill over to Alana by taking the souls. So 1-for-1 onto the Diana here. Don't want to get the Nasus too accelerated. And it looks like a dagger in the inventory of Cam does signal that this is going to be the Triforce setup. Dean is kind of low here under the tower. Ulti coming out from Hong. Good win wall by Dean to cancel the Q from the Kaisa, and a good Inferno trigger from Dean to pick up the double kill here. Does barely manage to get the kill in time. Super well played from bot lane here.
Dean kind of smurfed on him there a little bit.
Yeah, Hong played a little too much ego in that fight, R'ing in and then getting all of your damage immediately windwalled, and then having to reposition back into the tower with no minions because Mythic threw the ulti. and then getting hit by all the Samira Inferno trigger damage was super bad. But it looks like Cam could potentially pick up a kill here. Does go for the smite here. Exhaust coming out, the wind wall coming down, and Dean does get the corporate the bailout here, but does still manage to get the kill. Now he is the Samira, whips the Q, the spell shield coming out, and it looks like an ulti coming out from the Viego, and does just manage to pick up the double kill. This Viego is so fucking strong in this game right now.
Yeah, really good from Cam there. That looked close for a second when the bailout was on him, but
yeah,
was able to get the double kill. That's pretty huge if you're a Midwives fan. They needed that.
Yeah, and it looks like... Yeah, and it just looks like the thing we were talking about earlier, how Kassadin is slowly just going to outscale this Veigar, because you can't ever hold him down, so he's just going to Rift Lock on top of you and just kill you like 10 billion times. So bot tower is picked up for Hong here, though. Does get him a fair amount of gold influx, and Cam, being the strongest member on the side of Midwives, is looking for the Kassadin here. Good Rift Walk from Stanley. Ulti coming out, does manage to flash the ult though, and does manage to get out with his life intact, only having to burn the flash here.
Yeah, does lose his flash, but able to live, not give over that shutdown's pretty huge. Once he completes his second item and he has the shield from Seraph's Embrace, he'll be a lot harder for them to finish off.
And Cam is just looking for all of Alana's camps here. He wants them all. That is the Rune King. That is his domain or whatever. Does manage to pick up the Rafters and does just settle for the Rafters here. Not a whole lot else happening on the map.
Yeah, Cam's had a really good 3 games. Even the game they lost last game, he was doing a lot of work on the Maokai. He's been playing really well this series. Yeah,
super well played from him. Looks like he is just going to finish his Triforce. Next objective is probably going to be the Ocean Dragon in a minute. There is 4 seconds on the Baron. There could be an angle to force the Baron. I'm not entirely sure if that's in the cards for this team, but I'm curious to see if they go for it anyways. Looks like there is 3 bot lane, and Midwives is kind of in position for the Baron. I'm curious to see if they
be aggressive. I think they should do it if they recognize, but
yeah, they are gonna try to position for the fight instead onto the Ocean Dragon, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
we'll have to see if they can.
Alana did opt for the assassin build, so gonna have really high damage, but as you said, doesn't quite have that same freedom that the tank
just yeah, looks like super good catch. Ulti coming out from Diana, doesn't manage to hit anyone. Cam is kind of caught here versus the Kassadin, and Stanley gets an 800 gold shutdown. You do not want to be Midwives on this team anymore. Avery does have a potential flank here, same with Joel. Hog is positioning forward, does dodge the Q from the Samira, and Midwives are Milky Way is a little split here, so there is a potential teamfight angle for the side of the Midwives. Another great ulti from Stanley, just getting so much damage out, and Nasus is finally TPing into this fight. Has a really big angle here potentially if he hits a big Spirit Fire. They don't know he's in the bush, and another play coming out. Joel is in the middle of 5 people, but does manage to get out here, and then the Inferno trigger from Samir does get the Quadra kill with the bailout on top, but Hong
thank God it wasn't a pinner, right? But
yeah, true.
Oh my gosh,
super
that
good
was
patience.
Insane.
Yeah, super good patience from Dean to get the Samira game off, or to get the Samira play off. But yeah, super, like, just played it super well so that you could dodge all the, or wait for a good opportunity to get the free spin on people. So
I mean, that was crazy. He didn't want to let Stanley have all the attention there. Man, it popped off. But I mean, we got to go back to Stanley got that shutdown. He is going to be such a problem.
Yeah, Cam does try to steal this dragon, but doesn't manage to pick it up. But yeah, Stanley is just so fucking strong. There's like almost nothing they can do to stop the Kassadin and Snowball. And you also have to contest with the Samira on top of it. Midwives is in such a dire situation here now.
I do think that, you know, you're not that far behind in gold, and the champions like Viego and Kai'Sa, when piloted well, have that X factor kind of ability. So I definitely think they could still find ways into these fights. If Hong gets to like a 3rd or a 4th item, like Kai'Sa can carry. If Stanley ever goes in at a wrong moment,
yeah,
Kai'Sa
for
could
sure.
make the difference.
Yeah, I think it is possible. It's just the barrier for execution is just like through the roof right now. Alana is looking for the play here.
Flash
Stanley
in.
is here as well. Stanley navigating around the event horizon super well, and it looks like Joel should just go down here. Super good pick from the side of the Milky Way.
Yeah, nice job by Alana to kind of sit down there and hover. Yeah, that's the thing we said. You know, once Veigar's forced into the side lane, you don't have that turret to fall back to. It gets really difficult to push up.
Yeah, and it looks like the gold lead that Cam had for himself has kind of fallen off, has given a couple shutdowns, is still looking for this aggressive invade. Does manage to pick up a blue buff, but everyone else has arrived. The wither has been dropped on him, and it looks like the corporate takeover is coming in. And another great ulti from the Renata for the Samir to just start styling on people with the ulti. Stanley is here as well, and it looks like this should just be the dragon, or should just be the Baron for the side of the Milky Way.
Renata is looking so good. Mythic's had such
Yeah.
good defense. I honestly think Renata will be a really high priority pick going into next season as well. It seems like all the supports are really enjoying it right now. And I think part of that is that kind of the newer build. I feel like when she first came out, people were doing a wide range of things, but now it's kind of been settled on this tank mythic that just makes you so tanky, gives you so much healing when you use the ultimate. Like, it's a really good champion, and we're seeing
Yeah.
get piloted once again really well.
Yeah, and the Baron is picked up for the side of Milky Way, and it is going to be so hard from the side of Midwives to stop this Samira, Kassadin snowball that has happened here. Like, both of these champions are just so fucking strong right now. Samira with 3 items with the shield bow should be really hard to burst. And then Kassadin there's just so few tools on the enemy team to like shut him down. And it's going to be really hard for them to play out the rest of this game.
Yeah, Stanley's getting really close to that death cap as well. Once that comes through, I mean, it's just kind of goodbye if he lands on Janna or Kaisa.
Yeah, the team fights just get so hard to play. And it looks like Alana is going for the Shadow Flame second, is really the dipping deep on this super assassin build. Looks like Joel is trying to defend this bot tower with his life, but Stanley choosing to back off here. Cam might be caught again here. Does get the smite off. The ulti coming down from Alana. Cam does have to burn the flash here. Dean was so ready to follow up on this play, but does manage to get out with a sliver of HP. Or with half HP. Sorry, I'm stupid. I can't read. Anyways, does manage to live there, but does have to burn ulti and flash to get out of that play. So looks like another potential play onto him, though. And Dean just fucking rips him apart with the IE damage, and he's just so fucking strong. It's so hard for them to play this game now.
He has the shield bow as well. That's not even talking about the bailout. It's gonna be so hard to finish him off.
Yeah.
And
It's like they
Blake's
are
just
going to try to
quietly
defend this tower. The ulti coming out from the Kaisa, potentially managing to get the kill. Ulti coming out from the Nasus, the Everfrost coming out to try to stall
He's
out
gotta go
on here,
down,
but
right?
should be able to pick up the skill. The E forward does manage to hit all the abilities and does manage to pick up the kill. But the Renata is here, so is Alana, and the ulti coming out. The good bailout, or a good ulti from the Renata to try to get them, but another good ulti from Kathy to try to disengage the fight. Joel has to TP in and flash away immediately, but the cage is dropped onto the Renata and the
Cam's
Diana
back.
here. Yeah, Cam's back here. Potentially he could turn the fight, but just chooses to go hit Krugs instead, recognizing that he can't really reach them. So this is sort of like the problem I had with Midwife's comp in draft. Like, you don't really have like this engage button that you kind of want on a comp like this to like really force the early game plays that you kind of want to. This is why I was talking about champions like Jarvan could have probably been the pick here. It sort of slots into that AD champion that you kind of want, and also could potentially get like these early plays off, so you can really start snowballing your leads. So
I think that's a good call out, but I don't even hate the Viego, but then you need someone with playmaking elsewhere on the team. It's so difficult for Viego if he's the person that has to go in first.
yeah, like Viego is very much, I think Blake talked about this, follow the leader kind of champion, where it's like you're really good at following up on plays that your teammates are making, but him starting the play is always a little tricky, because what are you going to do? Flash W someone? Like, that's such a dog shit way to engage a team fight. And then you have like the Janna for like disengage, but yeah, he just gets caught on CC and just gets fucking
Withered
obliterated.
into a handshake into you're gone. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Really just not much they can do. Stanley also has the death cap already finished on the Cassidon. Like, the bro is Exodia build at this point. Like, there's not much that they can really do to stop him.
Yeah, at this point, I think you're just kind of hoping that they mess up a little bit. Like there's two 1K shutdowns you could potentially grab if Cassidy or Stanley get a little too greedy, get a little too aggressive. Hong's at 3 items. I mean, once that comes through, he is pretty strong. But with Wither, it's just so difficult.
Oh my gosh, Stanley just obliterates the Renekton's health bar with the Rift Walk and just blows him to pieces. And Blake is also really strong, just walking through the enemy team. Hong is desperately trying to kite out this team fight, but it looks like just a clean wipe for the Nasus here. Yeah, I'm looking for this play, but good luck killing the Nasus, and Joel leaves the game, question mark. I guess he just assumes the game isn't over, which is kind of valid.
20
Oh,
seconds.
no, just CC'd. Gotcha.
We're back.
Oh. We paused. Ah, gotcha.
Spectator moment.
Yeah. But it looks like they are just going to start knocking on the inhib towers here. Cassidy could TP for the end angle, honestly.
Yeah,
Looks
I
like they
think
might go
this is
for it. Yeah, they're just
Deep,
going to end
yeah.
the game. Oh, they're all here, though. Cassidy could just... Yeah, but there's just so much damage on their side, and Dean just spins through the enemy team. Goes under the Nexus, and it looks like a GG. Milky Way winning out. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really impressive game. Really, everybody stepped up that game. Played really, really well. But I mean, I really want to shout out Mythic. First timing the Renata had some super good plays. Um, Stanley, you're seeing the power of expanding that champion pool. You know, in seasons
Yeah.
past, you wouldn't have expected that pick from him, but that's at least 2 times this season now where he's pulled that out and just absolutely carried in a counter matchup. And that you just really
Yeah.
like to see that. And then, I mean, Dean just he outplayed him on that tower dive, and then he had that insane quadra kill. Like, really, really good game from him as well.
Yeah, super well played from the side of Milky Way. I think they set up their fearless draft super well. Just denying or getting like the Lux early pick, really pinching out Joel's champion pool, I think was super valid or super impactful for their team. So I really liked how they played it. So
I definitely think Fearless Draft did hit Joel kind of hard, but I think I liked what I saw in those picks. But it's just he hasn't been typically got pressured off his main one, so I don't think he's had as much practice in the server on them.
yeah,
But in
yeah,
the future, I'd like to see him pull out some of those other picks again because I thought he had good moments for sure. But I mean, overall, just as we kind of wrap the tournament up, like I thought both these teams did really good as the clear 2 best teams. I mean, how awesome is it that we essentially saw a 5-game series and Milky Way pulls it out when pretty much every game was pretty close. I mean, at least somewhat
yeah. It
close.
was a super high bracket. I really enjoyed casting most of these games.
Yep.
Super fun last series. So
Could we come up with a tournament MVP?
for tournament MVP, I was close to giving it to Blake. I think Stanley deserves a bit of a shout out as well, though. I think
Honestly,
his
I was
performances on his
yeah.
mid laners was super good.
I
Uh,
think Stanley played really, really well.
I think Alana also had a couple of really solid games, especially being super new to the jungle role, or newer to the jungle role, right? So, being able to
Yeah.
play a little more flexible was super valuable for her team. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think this Milky Way was a super strong team. I really liked seeing it from all of them.
yeah. All right. Dean, is there anything else you want to say, or you're muted, by the way? There you
Everywhere.
go.
Hold on. Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks to all the captains, especially for putting this together. We were able to pick out a weekend that worked for everybody, find teams that worked. A lot of effort went into that. So really appreciate our 4 captains. Again, want to thank Hidiri, Noam, Joel, and Stanley. All did a great job. And then thanks to all the players. We had a couple subs hop in too, so I think we had 22 total players. Everyone had at least one good game, so just want to shout everybody out. Thanks Gruer, Mason, Jacob, Avery for the cast. Appreciate the help there. And thanks everyone who watched and everyone who dropped a sub. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know at least Noam did. Noam is our number one fan.
I did as well.
Oh, yes. Mason, our goat. Mason subbing to the channel he's casting on. Get the Obama Award medal. Kind of goes crazy. But yeah, so just want to thank everyone for a successful tournament. We'll probably see you next at Frostbite once we get teams worked out for the next coming season. So that one should be pretty fun. Charity stream and all that is always a good time. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in about a month.
Bye.
Later.